listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. Happy on this Thursday. Thanks so much for being with us on the Florida Sports Network. A week from tonight, the first round of the NFL Draft, and our live, once a year, Miller and Moulton Twitch broadcast. There will be eating, there will be drinking, and there will be 4 to 5 hours of nothing but NFL Draft talk. And we are available for a price.
150 is the highest bid right now, David.
Wait, I thought there was some food, drink,
food, and I mean that's
gas.
That's a
involved.
given. Gas, food, and $150.
Well, I don't know if we're worth much more, Mark. Let's be honest.
For 5 hours? That's barely minimum wage.
I understand. You think our wives would pay that for us?
They'd pay that much for us to leave for 4 or 5 hours.
Well, maybe that's how we're going to double it.
There you go.
We'll get a sponsor to pay the initial rate, and we'll get the wives to say, if you'll keep them, we'll chime in. Of course, we'll put it on their credit cards, and they'll pay for it anyway. But Miller and Moulton on this Thursday, thanks so much for being with us. Wow. Jay Wright can keep a secret.
Yes, he can. That's how you retire, baby. That's how you do it. No tours, no rocking chairs, just simply, I'm done.
And not only that, have the replacement lined up, ready to go. I mean, it didn't leak at either end. I'm out of here. He's replacing me. All right. Let's get a couple of tweets and a press release and call it a night.
Very simple, very smooth, and done.
Think about it, though. Roy Williams, Mike Krzyzewski, Jay Wright, all in the last basically 12 months. There are now 7 active college basketball coaches who have won a national championship. 7. And I probably should have written this down. I mean, are there more than a handful in college football?
Oh, wow.
You know, think about it. Les and Urban are not active.
Correct.
Jimbo's active. Nick is active. Dabo is active.
Yep.
You know, Orgeron's not active at this moment in time. I mean, probably missing somebody out there. Gus, no, didn't win in 2013, lost in the championship game. I think we got 3
No, I think
active
you're right.
in college football. If we're missing somebody, you know, please let us know.
Well, we know it's nobody from the Pac-12.
Well, we can't rule that out. You'd have to go back to Pete, and he's active on Sundays. Right. So Bob Stoops is not active. Right. Mac Brown won it with Texas in 2005. He's active at North Carolina. There's 4. And if there's somebody else that we're forgetting right now, so that's no more than a handful. So we got 7 in college basketball and no more than a handful in college football. I mean, that's remarkable when you think about it. Here we are obviously, we've got nearly 360 Division I basketball schools, got almost 130 Division I football schools, and we've got no more than a dozen active coaches who have won the national championship.
Well, and you think that, Boeheim and Izzo aren't that much longer for the coaching world. One would think.
Well, the Izzo one's interesting because isn't Tom like 63? Boeheim's mid-70s. And he's already talking about succession plan. And somebody mentioned Gene Chizik. Is Gene a head coach or is Gene an assistant? Because I thought Gene was back as an assistant.
Izzo 67.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
but Boeheim certainly.
Pitino's one of them.
Right.
Calipari's one. Obviously, I mean, does Bill Self now become the dean of college basketball coaching? Active with 2 national titles. Now, you can count Pitino with 2. I think most of us do. We count the Louisville one that they've taken the banner down for. But I just found that to be an interesting little note right now, that there are actually very few that are doing it in big-time football or basketball that have won a national championship.
And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for the sport.
Well, I think it shows that it's in transition. I think we've also had, particularly on the basketball side, we've had a couple of these coaches get out because of how the sport now exists.
Right. I mean, they liked it when you could cheat blatantly under the table, but now that the athletes can get paid and NIL, but I will say NIL and transfer portal has run coaches off.
Well, I think the second one more than the first, personally. All right. That, the whole, listen, do we all, can we talk, as Joan Rivers said 30 years ago? I mean, come on. We all thought that somehow, some way, there was stuff getting to big-time athletes and big-time programs and big-time sports. Now it's just all, quite frankly, above board, and it could be done in an auction. And it's apparently legal. Nobody can do anything about it. And certainly the NCAA is not.
No. Why would they?
Right. But the transfer portal, I think, is a real deal for coaches. And I actually think it's a real deal for both sports, that I think there will be an adjustment to the transfer portal going forward.
Well, and I do think the one part of this that we've not really focused on enough with the transfer portal, we've listened to coaches complain, but it also happened in the midst of COVID, in which we granted these players an extra year and sometimes 2 extra years of eligibility. So we have these super seniors running around, and we had them last year. We're going to have them this year. And after that 6-year run of college players getting extra eligibility, I do think it will simmer down a touch, David.
Let me ask you this, though. If you were a big-time college basketball coach, would you ever recruit a high school kid again?
Yes.
Okay.
I would. I would never quit with the one and dones and the elite talents. And
all right. How about non-NBA high school players?
No, that's actually really easy. And I mean, there's a difference. And that's when you ask me that, I'm going after, I don't see any point in which the Caliparis quit going after the elite players.
Sure. If you can get the blue bloods, you get them.
But beyond that I can just go pick a kid from a school who we missed on, who I already see what he can do at the college level, it'd be really difficult.
There are already hundreds fewer scholarships being offered at the high Division I level to high school kids versus what it was pre-pandemic. And the pandemic's a big part of it, the numbers game that you talked about. But you throw in the transfer portal. I mean, just common sense. Think about it. A high school kid right now, you figure, is not as good or as ready as somebody who's already played a couple years of college ball. Why offer the scholarship to the high school kid? Granted, you get 4 or 5 years of eligibility, but I got to win now. And I know what this kid can do. I just saw him play at whatever level and produce at whatever level. And that kid's a question mark. I don't know what he can do at this level yet. And he can leave at any point in time. We try to put 20 pounds on him. We try to develop him. And he goes, well, after a year, hell with this, I want to play. And he leaves. Now, it's not that kids who come to you via the transfer portal can't leave again, but they're less likely to.
Look at the biggest part of what you said is that they can leave. You work on a kid. You get him put – you have a plan. Now, I will say the one part of this, while I think the high school kid will still get recruited, is that maybe not for you. But in my head, I start thinking about high school when I went to high school. And then I have to remind myself of the City of Palms tournament in Fort Myers, where now essentially between AAU and these elite high school academies, you are seeing more Division I kids play against Division I kids. It's not the days of Wilt playing high school basketball with a bunch of guys that are 5'8" out there. I mean, when you watch these academies and IMGs play, you're essentially watching all college kids play one another.
You are watching a small D1 program. You are. But I think it's going to be much fewer numbers for the rest of time being offered to high school kids. I really do. And I think it's going to be much more of a shell game where mid-majors will take kids from small schools, major programs will take kids from mid-major schools, kids will transfer amongst mid-majors to mid-majors and majors to majors, and the high school kid, I think, is going to be somewhat left behind. And they may have to go JUCO route and smaller school level than they ever imagined before, I think, to get their opportunity.
Would be interesting to see if we've had some of these small schools get big talent, some of the historically black colleges, the one kid that was grabbed a couple years ago and they had the pandemic never played.
Yep.
Be interesting to see if schools like that will benefit from it at any given point in time.
But Jay Wright just getting up and retiring at the age of 60. 4 Final Fours, 2 national championships, arguably at the top of his game. Think about that. 2 of the 4 coaches at the Final Four retired.
And one, we had no idea it was coming.
Right. The other, we had like a year's notice. Miller and Moulton. Good show lined up for you today. We promised a week ago that we would have people from the 8 NFL teams who have 2 first-round picks. We would have them on our show before the draft. Well, we got the Giants with picks 5 and 7. We're going to preview them and the draft coming up later on. Miller and Moulton. Happy Thursday, everyone. Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled, marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah, it was eerily quiet, they said,
What's that?
for his at bat.
Oh, okay. Did you
Like
see
people-
what Mac wrote here? Did you see that? This is pretty funny.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Pretty funny.
Do you remember a defensive lineman by the name of Jacob Green?
Jacob Green.
Jacob Green from the Seahawks,
No.
90s
Vaguely. Why?
or 80s, because football cards.
Oh.
Looking at his stats, he had a couple good years. His rookie year, he had 16 sacks.
I can barely hear him. Can you hear him?
Yeah, he's talking really quiet.
Oh.
His
Okay.
rookie year, he had
Gotcha.
16.
You weren't talking to the microphone, that's why.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't have said anything.
Craig Haywood,
Oh, Ironhead.
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 Someone talk for me.
32321 32321 321.
Tyrone Braxton.
Oh, went to North Dakota State.
Yeah.
Was a starting DB on the Broncos teams that won 2 Super Bowls in the late 90s. Seth has talked about him. They played fantasy football together.
Him and Tyrone Braxton.
Yeah,
That's
that
crazy.
was Seth covered those Broncos teams.
John Settle.
Fullback, right?
Yep. Appalachian State. He had some good seasons too. Man, those old Falcons jerseys are sick. Greg Lloyd.
Yeah.
Oh, hell of a
Great player.
linebacker, stand-up end for the Steelers. Hell of a player.
How about Michael Carter?
Lineman, right?
Niners. Yep.
I think Michael Carter was an Olympic shot putter.
Really?
I think.
Ooh. I don't know
Much
if it's
more of a fan of the discus
Were you?
than the shot put.
I was never a fan of the discus. It was hard. It was hard. I tried it. It was
I'm
hard.
just watching it. I like the
Oh.
discus more than the
How
When
many-
the-
how many
when-
spins do you do before you throw the discs?
3, I think.
3.
Yeah.
Nothing compares to the hammer throw, though.
Did you ever try the javelin?
I never
No.
tracked or field.
Never? Okay.
Javelin looks hard.
Never in gym class, outdoors,
We didn't
nothing?
have javelin. Like there was no one.
So
who
they
threw
wouldn't
the
let you
javelin at
play
our
with
school.
the heavy equipment?
We had discus and shot put were the only field events, and then high jump probably. But I didn't track or field. I don't know if you can tell by my build.
Well, you wouldn't be able to tell by looking at me, but I actually tracked.
Yesterday, one of my friends really liked the best of segment about burgers. We were talking about White Castle and Crystals.
Oh, yeah.
And he was describing it to my other friends. He's like, yeah, basically Phil was like, what's this burger? Have you ever been to In-N-Out? And then David was like, kid, look at me. The hell do you think I am?
Actually, I had some crystals on the way home
Oh,
Man.
Monday. Yeah, they were awful.
Oh,
just awful.
jeez.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I had 12 of them, but they were awful.
Where?
Stark, North Florida. I just gotten on the road. I was about 45 minutes on the road into a 5-hour drive. It was midday.
Okay, last one. Vi Sika.
Oh, yeah. Running back Cardinals.
Yep. Vi Sikahema.
Yep. 37, I believe.
you are just so in Moulton's wheelhouse right now.
Oh, no doubt about it.
This is
No, this is great.
This is cheating.
There's a yeah.
I said that, Robes. Tyrone Braxton.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you, Miller and Moulton. Florida Sports Network. You know, we did not have a good gambling night last night.
Bad night.
Yeah, they're just basically about everything we liked.
Nothing like a tray knocking you out when you're getting 2.5.
Right. That was Toronto in the 2.5, and Embiid saying, I'll hit a 3, thank you. But also, we should have known, I should have known, because I really like Milwaukee laying the 10 against the Bulls. Hate this matchup for the Bulls. Well, two things happened. DeRozan decided, well, I'm going to score 41. And Gus Johnson was doing the game. Well, whenever Gus does a game, seemingly it's close. And if his college basketball rep, now filters over to when he does a couple NBA games, then usually there's an upset. So, I should have known because I knew Gus was doing the game. We talked about it. He did a game Monday, and he was doing a game last night. And I think that's it. I think it was just a 2-gamer for Gus. Little deal worked out between Fox and Turner, and Gus did a couple games. I mean, Gus did Knicks games for a while. He moved to Detroit over a decade ago. His mom wasn't in good health for many a year, and he went to be with her and gave up the Knicks play-by-play gig. It's also part of, and he scaled back really what he did, including a lot of basketball. And now since his mom's passed, he's kind of ratcheted up his work schedule.
But yes, Boston came back from down 17 early in that game, second quarter.
Yep. Down 10 at the half and just wore him down.
Well, when Kyrie and Durant make one shot in the fourth quarter.
I think the whole second half, actually.
Yeah, I'm sorry, whole second half.
One field goal between the two of them in the second half. Now, they did call a few more fouls. I mean, Durant shot 20 free throws. But he made 4 shots from the field.
Right.
4. That's probably not going to get it done for the Brooklyn Nets.
Well, and I think if you're Brooklyn, though, going home, you can feel at least okay because you can't ever imagine that we're going to get this performance out of Durant and Kyrie again.
Kyrie followed up 41 there with 10.
Yeah.
That $50,000 fine seemingly took a lot out of him. He didn't have the same vinegar.
No, he did not.
Dealing with everyone and everything in Boston as he did in game 1.
They, however, had the same vinegar, maybe a little bit more.
Yes.
Not just the Boston fans, but the Boston defense who played tremendous in the second half.
I would say, Mark, they not only had vinegar, they had oil and vinegar. They were so fired up.
I actually thought they had something else in vinegar.
Yeah, well, there is that. Needless to say, they were full of.
Yes. They
that.
were.
Yes. So Sixers and Celtics in control of their series. And surprisingly, Chicago and Milwaukee is a series as it heads to game 3. So is there an offer, if you're the Niners, that you would accept for Deebo Samuel? I mean, he has officially, publicly requested a trade. Is there an offer? Like, I'll give you an example. You're the Jags. You offer them your second-round pick, which is the first pick of the second round, and next year's first-round pick. Now, think about it. This is the Jags now.
No, I know.
They've had the number 1 pick last year, number 1 pick this year. You're the Niners, and that pick is dependent on what kind of a season the Jags will have this year. You're the Jags. You offer the 33rd, because the Niners don't have a first and second round pick this year.
All right, just refresh my memory if you have it at the top of your head. What did Miami give for Hill?
Oh, I gave a more
lot.
than that.
Right. So I would think the Niners would want something else besides just those 2 picks.
Okay.
And I'm not saying a first or a second, but I'm saying it might be
all right,
a third next year as well.
What if it's this year's second rounder, next year's first and second rounder?
Done.
You would do that if you're San Francisco.
Done.
I will say this if you're the Niners. Now, A, you have no cap room right now. you could get 24.5 million of it with the snap of a finger if by chance you trade or release Jimmy G. So you can go from 1.6 to 26 in a snap of a finger. And you've got Bosa and Samuel that you got to get signed long-term here in the next 12 months, ideally. Or you're going to have to franchise one of them. And that ain't going to be cheap. Especially
not with what receivers all of a sudden started going for.
Bingo.
Holy cow.
Bingo.
That used to be something you could think about doing, and I think have it almost be advantageous to your franchise. But with what's happened in the last 2 months here,
Right.
It has changed the game of wide receiver franchise tags forever, David.
Correct. I would think for next year, you do average of the top 5, the number is probably going to be around 24, 23. I mean, it's going to be poor quarterback money. The salaries have escalated But so that's the scenario, along with the fact that the Niners wide receiving core, if you take Deebo Samuel out of the equation, is not good. And by not good, I'm talking like Jets, Carolina, not good. I mean, not good. So if you're the Niners, you need to, when their people are calling you, it's kind of like, wow, it's a nice offer. We got to replace Deebo. Who are we going to get? I mean, you're going to sign Odell? You're going to sign Jarvis? Because you got to replace him immediately. You can't go to and win the Super Bowl, and they think they can, unless you replace him. You need a weapon.
There's no question that they'd have to get rid of Jimmy G, and they would have to sign one of the players you're talking about, David. They really would, and then they'd have to draft another receiver.
Now, this is why I think the Jets are an interesting part of the equation, because they've got the 4th and the 10th overall picks. And if you're the Niners, you're like, well, I'll at least listen to you, because I can get the number 1 wide receiver in this draft at 10. So I'm at least replacing him, and I'm replacing him on the cheap, because I don't have to pay this guy for 4 years minimum.
And they're going to have to the Jets are probably going to have to give you one of their second rounders too.
Oh, yeah.
So you're replacing with the best receiver, and you're going to get a high quality player with 38 or whatever, 35, 38 are the two they have, I believe.
Right. So think about it if you're the Niners.
And also remember, the Jets lost out on the Tyreek Hill sweepstakes. They wanted him badly. So they'll be willing to offer and do whatever it takes to get him, I believe.
Yeah, and they have the cap room. They can pay Deebo. And remember, their quarterback's entering year 2. They don't have to worry about paying him for at least 3 years minimum. At least. So they can afford to give Deebo up front big money. Here you go, 20+ million a year. You happy? But if you're the Niners, you're like, yeah, I want 10 and I want 35 and 38.
Would you do that deal if you're the Jets?
No, I would not. I said it yesterday because I don't think I'm close to competing. I'm sorry. And I don't want to use up arguably Deebo's 2 best years.
Would you do the deal if you were the Jags that we talked about?
Yes. If I were the Jags, I'd do the deal. I'd give you 33 in next year's 1.
And a 3?
Sure.
I mean, because it's going to have to be 3 picks.
Well, yeah, and I'll give you my 3rd rounder next year. Next year's draft's considered better.
Right.
Yeah, I'll give you 33, whatever the 1st rounder ends up being next year. And I'll give you the 3rd rounder next year.
Well, you're making my Jags the Bengals.
Niners are probably going to want more than that, by the way, for Deebo. I don't think a 1, a 2, and a 3 over 2 drafts is enough for Deebo from the Niners' perspective. Tell you what, the Jags would totally revolutionize the wide receiver position in 1 year's time.
No doubt about it. We'll talk Giants later on with Lance Medow, John Fanta about Jay Wright's retirement also on the show. We thank you for listening. The starting 5 is on the other side of Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Did you see the clinic Shohei put on last night?
Yeah, 6 shutout innings and then a double RBI double.
It's ridiculous. It's just another day in the office.
Oh, already had a follower this morning. That's what I'm talking about. Hey, anybody in the Twitch chat room do appliance repair?
Canada, how does he go to Miami?
Yeah, the Dolphins have spent enough resources now at the wide receiver position. Remember, they also signed Cedric Wilson as a free agent.
Well, let me ask you something. Whatever team gets Debo, I mean, I guess depending
Well,
on
first
the
off,
team.
I don't think he's being traded. I think the Niners are going to look him dead in the eye and go, dude, you're under contract for a year and we can franchise you for 2. Shut the F up. We'll be here when you're ready to report.
Also, dude, we were just in the NFC Championship game. Like, did you forget that all of a sudden?
No, he didn't forget it at all. They're there. They were there because of him. He wants to get paid now. He's watching all these receivers get paid. He wants to get paid.
I also think he doesn't want to take the pounding that he's taking as a running back.
But that's what I was going to ask. If he ends up getting traded, he's immediately going to get re-signed? Or, like, he's going to sign another deal?
Well, if you are agreeing to trade him, you're committing to signing him. You're not going to give up what you have to give up to get him to have him for a year.
Right, obviously.
And if you don't sign him long-term, he'll hold out on you.
True. So they sign him on the spot, most likely.
Well, or
it'll be pretty close. When
Yeah.
when they're working on it, they've already.
They'll give that team permission to talk to the agent so they can work out financial parameters.
Gotcha. Also, did you
Because
see
the agent's working the trade right now, too. I mean, that's what goes on. The agent's out trying to get a trade for him. Because I think David's right. I don't think the Niners are doing a damn thing.
Nope.
I don't even know if they're answering the phone right now.
Good.
Other than to laugh. No, we're not trading him.
For a couple draft picks? No. Get out of here. Did you see the Twitch response that Mac had earlier?
About the Nats?
That is so good.
Yeah, it was great.
That was so great.
By the way, I'm with you. I like the Guardians logo.
I like it.
I think the Guardians logo's fine.
It's growing
I
on
don't like
me.
the team name.
No, I'm telling you, if the Washington football team and the Cleveland baseball team had switched
Swapped,
names, it
yep.
would have worked better. Cleveland Commanders, Washington Guardians.
And you can use that same logo, put the old Skins colors on it, it'd be just fine.
It's just
Can we do that? That would be great if they traded names.
Why not?
the Commanders like logos. I don't know. It just looks like a Home Depot kind of company. It just looks like a company. I can't really think. They look like DHL logos.
Now, I don't
DHL
necessarily
uniforms.
like the Guardians across the jersey, but the hat with the G and the
Yeah.
it's not bad.
It's like a 3D logo.
Like that logo there's not awful. It's minor league-ish.
Yeah, but it's cool.
The Guardians.
Oh, Wimbledon.
Not one bit, Canada. I've never cared about it since I worked for a team that won it and got bounced in the first round.
Yeah. What? Panthers haven't won a. Have the Panthers won a playoff series since they went to the finals?
That's a great question.
I don't.
I mean, that's
There's so many years they missed the playoffs.
I mean, Canada relief. Do you think Leafs fans would care if they won the President's Trophy? Haven't won a playoff series in 18 years?
So great.
Here we go.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. Lance Medow to talk the Giants. Picks 5 and 7. What are they going to do? They're going to trade out? Trade down? What does he think the Giants are going to do? Lance Medow, who's part of the Giants Radio Network, will join us in an hour. And John Fanta, top of the 8 o'clock hour. He seemed to know it was coming if you follow him on Twitter about Jay Wright. So we're going to ask John, hey, do you have some insight on this? Are you and a few others keeping a secret?
In this business?
I know. Good for him if he did.
You may have a future, young man.
John Fanta, who we always love having on the show, will join us coming up in a little more than 1 hour's time.
Do you think he'll be as excited to talk today as he is in March? I mean, because John brings high energy to the show.
All the time.
And this is his off season.
Yes, I do.
All right.
I do. I think John Fanta is someone who is happy about life and the pursuit of happiness, and not just when he is working in earnest.
I think you're probably right. I want a little bit of what he has.
I think John would aggressively embrace the transfer portal. If he was an AD, if he was a coach, if he was a player.
I think you're right.
That's not a bad attitude to have, by the way.
No, it's not. He has a great attitude.
What's your attitude in life? I aggressively embrace the transfer portal. Huh. Just as long as you're not doing it with wives. Hello!
Well, time now for...
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
Only if you're from Ecuador, David. Only if you're from Ecuador.
So how many of you brought that up at the dinner table last night? We're number 59. We're in Conference USA. If you missed it, well, download yesterday's show. Jay Wright retires from coaching at the age of 60. 21 years at Villanova, 4 Final Fours, 2 national titles. And just like that, they've got his replacement. Fordham's Kyle Neptune. Now, he spent 10 years at Nova, 8 as an assistant. He only coached the Rams of Fordham for 1 year. They went 16-16 this year, which was considered a terrific job. So Kyle Neptune to Villanova to replace the retiring Jay Wright, who's already in the Basketball Hall of Fame. And, Mark, here's the good news. Jay's going to get dressed up again because he's going right into broadcasting. I mean, Fox and CBS will fight each other for Jay Wright. This could mean the end of Raftery doing the Final Four. Honestly, if you're CBS, if Jay Wright will sign with you, Raf's done his last Final Four.
Well, he's done a ton of TV when he's been knocked out of the tournament. He's great on it.
Right. Good-looking guy, and now he can go back to wearing his wardrobe, which will probably make him happy.
Villanova into a blue blood.
Yes. Yes, he did.
I mean, by himself. Think about that.
Amazing. It's amazing. Funny thing, in his 21 years at Nova, the first third of it, to actually over half, he was criticized. He didn't have a lot of tournament success.
No, a lot of 1 and 2 seeds and get bounced early. And
right. Couldn't make the second week and then couldn't advance beyond the Sweet 16.
Why you got all that TV time?
Right. Also, nobody says a bad word about Jay Wright.
Nope.
Think about it. He reached the pinnacle of that sport, and even his peers don't say anything bad about him. Trust me, you can find guys in the business to say bad things about Patino, Calipari, Boeheim, Self. Nobody says a bad word about Jay Wright.
Nope.
So walking away at 60, good for him. Not good for the sport, not good for Nova, but good for him. Some other college basketball news yesterday. Paolo Banchero and Kofi Cockburn of Duke and Illinois, respectively. No surprise, both going to the NBA. You know what was a surprise? The Wooden Award winner from Kentucky. I'll probably screw up his last name. Oscar Tshiebwe. He's staying at Kentucky. You know when's the last time the Wooden Award winner came back? Tyler Hansborough, 08. Came back for 09.
Right.
That's a while ago.
It's a long time ago.
Good for him. Good for Kentucky. NBA playoffs last night. Brooklyn got up 17 on Boston second quarter, and then the Celtics went to work. Man, did they shut down Durant and Kyrie. Durant and Kyrie in the second half hit one shot from the field. One. And yeah, Kevin shot a bunch of free throws, 20 of them, made 18. But Kyrie only scored 10 points. Durant held to 4 from 17 from the field. And the Celtics come all the way back and win it 114-107 and lead the series 2-0. Ben Simmons, oh, by the way, looking towards a game 4. Can't say return because he hasn't played for the Nets yet.
Right. Debut.
In game 4. See whether or not it'll be a series by the time Ben Simmons makes his debut. It's not a series between the Sixers and the Raptors. Joel Embiid with a game-winning three-pointer. Philly in overtime, 104-101 over Toronto, and they lead that series 3-0. And Embiid afterwards immediately said, I want this thing over as soon as possible. Good for him. Good for him. Hey, Harden's never taken a team to the finals. Just does need to be pointed out. He was the third wheel in Oklahoma City in 2012. Come on now. He didn't even start. So follow the big man. I'm all for that. And DeMar DeRozan with 41 as he single-handedly said, hey, this is going to be a series, Milwaukee. Bulls 114-110 over the Bucks. Series tied at 1. Devin Booker expected to miss games 3 and 4 in their series against New Orleans. What do you think? Is this a series now? Because let's be honest.
I don't think so.
Okay, so even if Booker misses the middle 2 in New Orleans.
I don't think so.
All right. Tell you what, it'd be really intriguing if this was a best of 5.
I'm all in. Now, I think there's a really good chance it's 2-2. But I still don't. I'm not that worried. You and I would bring back the best of 5 series tomorrow.
Yes. Luka, not 100%, but he did practice for Dallas and was interviewed afterwards and said, I'm not going to be 100% anytime soon, but I think I'm good enough to play. so I'm going to give it a go. That series, Dallas and Utah tied at a game apiece. NFL news, 26-year-old Deebo Samuel officially requested a trade from the Niners, at least publicly. Talks on a long-term deal broke down 2 weeks ago. Here's the good news for Deebo. He averages 18 yards a catch. That led the league. He scored 14 combined touchdowns, and he was responsible for 107 yards a game on average. Here's the bad news. He had 12 drops. I think it led the league. So Deebo, the word is that he doesn't like this dual role because he thinks it's going to shorten his career.
Well, you better catch the ball.
There you go. If you're going to be only a wide receiver, then you better catch the damn ball. So we'll see what happens with the Niners, who don't have a first and second round pick in this year's draft. So would they be open to trading him as Deebo enters the final year of his rookie deal? Another football note, a good story. Vinny Curry's 34, and he missed all of last year with a blood disorder. Many people thought, well, his career's definitely over. Well, he's back, he's healthy, and he signed a one-year deal with the Jets. So hopefully everything works out. Baseball, 16 games last night because the White Sox and Guardians had a double dip. Tampa Bay, in a rain-shortened game in 5.5 innings, beat up on the Cubs 8-2. Francisco Mejia with a homer and 3 RBIs. Cardinals got a 2-run homer from Arenado in the 9th and beat the Marlins 2-0. St. Louis is 7-3. Miami's 4-7. Yankees beat the Tigers 5-3, but Cabrera got 3 hits last night. That's 29.99. And he got those 3 hits in his first 3 at-bats, so he stepped to the plate in the 8th with a chance to get 3,000. 32 players have 3,000 hits in the history of the sport. 28 players have 500 home runs. 6 players have both. Cabrera, 1 hit away from being number 7.
By the way, you skipping work today if you're in Detroit?
1 o'clock game?
You bailing at noon?
Absolutely.
I hope they have a packed house. I hope that, I don't think it'll be sold out, but I hope that there's 25,000 there. I don't think there will be.
Well, and you don't want to be late arriving. He's batting, although he's hitting 5th in the lineup these days. That'll be interesting. Oh, by the way, if you're A.J. Hinch, the manager, do you move him up? Now, I think the Tigers are home tomorrow night. So I don't think this is one of those instances in which, oh, man, hope he gets it at home.
Right.
Because I think he's going to get it at home. Just a matter of, will he do it in a matinee or will he do it in a 7 o'clock game Friday?
Yeah, they've got the Rockies coming to town.
Right.
So,
but you wonder if you're Hinch, do you move him up from 5th to 3rd even? Which could get you an extra at-bat in the 9th. Giants, after getting swept the day before, beat the Mets 5-2. Toronto had a 5-run second inning, beat Boston 6-1. Guardians swept the White Sox 11-1 and 2-1. Phillies got 5 in the 7th, beat the Rockies 9-6. Freddie Freeman, a 2-run homer against the Braves. Dodgers won 5-1. Mark, if you're the Reds,
what are you going to do? Where are you going to go?
Padres handed Cincinnati their 9th straight loss since the Reds president said,
where are you going to go?
Where are you going to go? Well,
2-11.
2-11. Padres 6-0. They're 9-5. Milwaukee swept a 3-gamer from the Pirates 4-2. Kansas City 2-0 over the Twins, who are off to a 4-8 start. Angels got 6 shutout innings from Ohtani, and he got 2 hits and 2 RBIs. This story is, this is Babe flipping Ruth.
It is.
100 years later.
Remarkable.
It is. Can we quickly play Guess the Attendance? Felipe, you can join in.
Ooh.
A's hosting the Orioles last night. 3,700 the day before. Attendance last night.
4,281.
Lower.
4,000.
2,703.
Bye.
That's good, bad, ugly stuff.
2,703. Orioles won 1-0. Arizona 11-2 over Washington. Seattle doubled up Texas, and the Rangers off to a 2-9 start, 4-2. Just 4 games in the NHL. Dallas lost to Edmonton. Combine that with Vegas beating Washington in overtime, and now the Golden Knights are 2 points behind Dallas for the final playoff spot. Washington now tied with Pittsburgh for third in the Metropolitan. One of those will be a wild card. And Seattle beat Colorado 3-2. Big news for the Panthers. They now can win out and win the President's Trophy, which in theory means they'd host the Stanley Cup final against everybody. Chicago beat Arizona 4-3 in overtime. Arizona, worst team in the league. USGA announced Pebble Beach as their third anchor site, joining Pinehurst number 2 and Oakmont. So they're going to get 4 men's and 4 women's U.S. Opens over the next quarter century. The women's U.S. Open will be at Pebble next year. They've never hosted the women's Open. Wimbledon, this broke late in our show yesterday. They're banning all Russian and Belarus players from the tournament because of Putin's war. Djokovic called that crazy and not good. And trust me, I know I'm from a war-torn country. And finally, Mark, Dave Stewart leading a $2 billion effort to bring an expansion major league team to Nashville, which would be called the Stars, which is what the Negro League team was called back in the day. Major League Baseball has not expanded since 1998. This would be the first minority-led ownership in the history of Major League Baseball. But Stewart came out and said, we got $2 billion for you, Major League Baseball, $2 billion cash. You interested?
Who's the other team going to be? They're not taking one.
No. Well, but hey, if they're 31, then now we can begin the race for 32.
We need to fix Tampa and Oakland first.
Well, Oakland's getting fixed. They're going to Vegas. And Stewart knows that. He said, hey, the commissioners told me I got to do Oakland and Tampa Bay first, which will put the Rays on the clock. Because if that's $2 billion sitting there for those owners to divide up, they're going to make Sternberg get off the pot. And Tampa get off the pot.
Miller and Moulton. That was the starting 5. We are the Florida Sports Network, and we thank you for listening. Back on the other side, Giants talk next hour. Miller and Moulton.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program,
The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Menu item? Yes. I think the Wendy's chili is a top of the line fast food menu item.
I'm not even going to argue. It was my go-to for years.
That's the first thing I hear when I unmute you guys.
Well, there was a Wendy's commercial and they showed a double stack, and I didn't eat yesterday. Like literally, I did not eat food yesterday, and had, I think, 7 vodkas.
Jesus.
Which those are Country Club vodkas, so that's more like 14.
Right.
You did anti-420 yesterday.
I played golf and I didn't play all that well. And the guy I was playing with at the turn said, "I need a cocktail." And I said, "That's a great idea."
And then boom.
So I had one on the back 9, and although I birdied my 9th hole, so it really wasn't caused me to only lose $5 yesterday instead of 30.
No doobies, straight rocks.
I'll tell you what, you try to pick who's coming out of the East this year in hockey. Good luck. Because Florida could get Washington.
Or Boston. Or Tampa.
No, because they're going to play the other side. Florida's got way too. They're going to play the Metropolitan wild card.
They do it based on points.
Right.
Well, hold on. They're going to play whoever has the least number of points.
Correct, but it's been...
Well, but Boston is 99 and Washington, Pittsburgh have 97.
Okay, yeah, it's gotten a little closer.
I mean, now Boston is a game in hand. It's likely going to be either the Pens or the Caps.
But just the Caps,
who
have
are
been
hot.
playing unbelievable hockey.
Right.
And there's still enough guys on that team that won a cup against Florida, who's never won squat. Philly, you know what you need to do today? You need to start getting in touch with the Florida Panthers.
Honestly, yeah.
Because I would drive over for a game for press credentials in a heartbeat.
Well, the other thing is they could go on a run.
Mm-hmm.
I would be going after Tampa and Florida, just introducing yourself. The playoffs are starting, and find out who Tampa's always been pretty good with us. Now, we were affiliates with stations we worked for in the past, but Tampa's always been pretty good. With Tampa, we're on in between every market that we're in is one of their secondary markets outside of their main market. Florida, a little different, but they still consider Collier County part of their base.
If we can get hell.
Well, I'm not worried about we're not going to get any players, but just getting the name out to get press credentials would be smart. And doing it now instead of when the playoffs start would be even smarter, right? But I mean, you're talking Pittsburgh, Boston, Tampa, Washington. That's who Florida's going to play in the first round.
Yeah. If we can get on in Weston, Parkland area, that could be huge.
Yes, it would. If we get on in West Palm, it would be even bigger.
We're trying really hard for West Palm.
East Coast.
We'll be in Daytona probably next month. But West Palm, Key West, Miami, Fort Lauderdale is going to be hard.
Really hard.
It's going to take a little bit of luck.
Here we go.
listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour number 2 of Miller and Moulton on this Thursday, 1 week away from the NFL draft. We'll talk a little draft from the Giants' perspective. They have picks 5 and 7 in the first round. They can go in a lot of different directions. They could even trade out for a 2023 pick. Because let's face it, they might be in the market for a quarterback next year, and so they might want as many picks in next year's draft as possible. But we'll talk with Lance Medow as part of the Giants radio network coming up in about 35 minutes.
Who drafts first next year? Not the 2022 draft, 2023 draft. Jets or Giants? I'd lean Jets because the division's, I think, better that they play in. And the AFC's better. But it is pretty interesting that we've got 4 picks with these two teams in the first 10, and the likelihood of them both picking in the top 10 next year is pretty high.
I wonder if the Jets are drafting before the Giants next year, if Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh are in their current jobs. And I understand that Saleh will only have finished 2 years as head coach, but if you're drafting 4th and presumably in the top 5 again next year, I mean, it's a hell of a first 2 years. You really going to see year 3?
And especially with that team who
and also
hastily make moves.
Yeah, and their owner who left because he was part of the Trump government as an ambassador has now come back. You know, the one brother who took over for him, he was patient. You know, he just kind of, keep it going and was willing to give guys more of a rope and what have you. Woody Johnson, who's back, not as patient. And so that's an interesting question because I'm with you just because the NFC East is so bad.
Right.
And I think also from a scheduling standpoint, they get a break, more of a break than the AFC East teams do this year.
But at the same time, the Giants are clearly the worst of the 4 teams in the East.
Oh, yeah.
Clearly.
Yes.
And you could argue the rest of the teams are improving, and I don't know if the Giants are. Not with Danny Dimes back there throwing the ball.
Please. They don't have a good enough roster, and that they do have is not healthy. That's a really bad combination. We don't have enough good players, and the ones that we do have can't stay healthy. Where are you going to be drafting? Pretty high. Pretty damn high. Well, it's not only, you know what? I'll say Giants are drafting first now that I think about it, because I think there's a chance this GM tears it down this year. And he may do it methodically. I could see them unloading a Saquon Barkley, a James Bradbury at the deadline or right before the deadline even, and getting 5th round picks and getting them off their books, etc. I could see this GM because he got a 6-year deal. I mean, he's thinking, hey, I got a little bit of time here. Even the owners know I inherited a mess.
That's evident based on things that they've already said, that they know that, and you're right, the link to the contract. I mean, it is something.
Also shows the power of the NFL. That
think about that.
Both New York teams are a train wreck, and it doesn't matter at all.
Not in the least bit.
Does not matter at all. Now, would the 2 networks, Fox and CBS, prefer that they were good? Sure, they'd get better numbers. I know that Joe and Troy and the Fox A team lamenting the fact that they don't go to Jersey anymore. They don't do any Giants games anymore because the Giants aren't good enough to get the A game. But besides that, I mean, the league doesn't care.
Not in the least bit.
Now you go another 5-10 years, Goodell might pick up the phone, call somebody. But a little 5-8 year drought, whatever. It gets 15, 18 years, then we talk.
But it is remarkable that the league just keeps on keeping on with the 2 New York teams being absolute grease fires.
And also to some extent, by the way, that, the NBA, I mean, the Knicks have been MIA for a generation. And from a business standpoint, it's not really hurting them. And amazingly, the Knicks sell out every game. Every game, considering how bad they've been. Most expensive ticket in the league, by the way.
I did notice yesterday, Felipe, I think you'll probably be happy. I'm guessing you noticed it as well. All of a sudden, the four-letter networks made a major shift now that the Heat have won a couple of games, that they have started to focus a little bit on the Miami Heat and treating them like a number one seed in the East. Amazing what 2 wins will do. I don't know if they somehow thought Atlanta had something, or if it's the fact that Brooklyn's down early or what the case may be, but I've seen Miami getting a little more love nationally finally.
Yeah, first time since they were called dangerous loomers at the halfway mark of the season.
What is that? That sounds like an animal that you find in Florida.
A dangerous loomer.
Hey. Don't go outside. It's dangerous loomer season.
Either that or a bad minor league team.
You know what?
The Lake City Loomers. That worked for you guys?
How about
in Lake
Lakeland?
City?
Could they be Lakeland? I mean, they got a team in the Florida State League, right? The Lakeland Loomers.
I think Lake City has a better ring to it, though.
That's true. Miller and Moulton. We need a poll question. Here's what I was thinking. I don't know if enough people care. I mean, now that Coach K, Jay Wright retiring, who's the face of college basketball? Is there a face of college basketball? And does the sport need a face? Can't have players be the face. They don't stay. If you're
they
lucky,
stay, they transfer.
Well, yeah. Can't even market him. He's not in that uniform anymore. I mean, so that's the danger. And I do think that that's more and more of a reason why coaches have become bigger and bigger because, well, we can, they're the centerpiece. We can, loop it around them. I mean, think about the day when Nick walks away. I mean,
you started the show today with the college football coaches, and if Nick were to walk away, the void of coaching in that sport would be incredible. 7
coaches in Division I men's basketball that are active currently that have won national championships. 7. That's it. And we think in football the number's 4. Nick, Dabo, Jimbo, and Mac Brown. Because Orgeron's not active, Chiswick's not a head coach, unless I'm mistaken. I thought he came back as an assistant. Urban's not active. Stoops is not active. Fulmer's not active. Bill Self, Rick Pitino, Tom Izzo, Tony Bennett, Drew there at Baylor, Calipari, Boeheim. Those are the 7. Because Tubby Smith also stepped down this year at High Point. So between Coach K, Jay Wright, Tubby Smith stepping down, Roy Williams the year before, 7 Division I men's basketball coaches that are active who have won national championships, and Pitino and Boeheim are both in their 70s.
And I know you said Self, and it's not because I went to school there. I think Izzo's more of the face of it because I think the networks like him more.
Self, Pitino, the only ones with 2 national championships.
And Pitino should be, but they won't allow him to be.
And it's tough at Iona.
Right. Would have been a lot easier if he'd have gotten the Florida job.
By the way, I don't know how many people care, but if you're Fordham, I mean, Iona's in St. Peter's conference there. That's a smaller, Fordham's in the A10. If you're Fordham, you call Pitino. It's not that far away from Iona, by the way, Fordham. I mean, he doesn't have to sell his house or anything. None of his assistants need to move. I mean, Iona and Fordham are not that far from each other. It is the A10. It's a better league.
I would.
There's
not a job out. There are very few jobs out there that if I had an opening that I wouldn't be hiring Rick Pitino for.
No, you and I are drinking from the same fountain there.
So it's a tough question for me because outside of a few blue blood programs, there's not many places I wouldn't want Rick Pitino at.
But it is remarkable, big-time hoops, big-time football, how in a very short period of time, Urban only stepped away, 3 years ago? Orgeron, did any of us think that 2 years removed from a national championship, he'd be out of coaching? And, some big figures, big names involved in college football and basketball that are no longer associated with it. I mean, we don't think Urban will coach again. Word is he's coming back on Fox. How do you think the viewers will receive him?
You know what? I think he'll be fine. There's been so much that's happened in a daily basis of bad that, yeah, it'll be brought up for a little bit. I don't think we move forward pretty darn quickly. I think he'll get more crap from listeners about the girl dancing on his lap than he will about kicking a kicker in the disaster in Jacksonville. I just think it'll be, he couldn't do it in the pros and it'll go away.
I really think it would help him if he could make fun of himself. And he doesn't have him in him, I don't believe. He's never shown it before as a coach or as a broadcaster. I do think it would help him if he could be a little self-deprecating when he comes back.
What would be interesting is if someone else on the panel just said something that was slightly controversial towards him, how he would handle it.
Well, yeah, because he was treated kind of royally on that set.
And at some point, Woodson's got to look over at him and go, really, dude?
Come on, dude.
I mean,
you're not going to kick me, are you?
I mean, right. Someone's got to say something.
But the word is he's coming back. And I'm wondering, though, Matt Millen was very highly thought of as a broadcaster. Obviously goes to the Lions. That doesn't go well. Was nothing but a winner his whole life. His whole life. High school, Penn State. He won Super Bowls with 3 different franchises as a player. Was number 2 to Madden at CBS and Fox. Does the Lions stint as a GM, comes back, has no credibility as an NFL commentator anymore. A lifetime of work that went away in half dozen years.
Will be fascinating to see the revival of one Urban Meyer on television. I think the fact that he went from pro to college, he's going to get a break that Millen never got.
Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us. Thursday edition on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah, but Shimko, it's not going from one organization to another. It's going to television. Rick Spielman's never failed with the Dolphins and gone on TV.
Yeah, if Urban wanted to go coach, trust me, he could go coach.
Oh, yeah, there are colleges who would hire him yesterday.
In a nanosecond.
I do think they're going to have to take the whole Urban lecturing us part out of his act, though. I don't think he can do the, stand up there and talk about winning and culture and things like that. Not this year.
Well, the first time he does, someone's got to just look at him and go, well, then why couldn't you create a culture on some?
Well, and that's where he has to, he can do it if he says, this is where I failed. Like if he admits where he failed with Jacksonville. Okay.
Yeah, but the stories that are out of the failings, I don't think he's going to address any of that stuff head on.
Well, he doesn't have to, but he could just say, this is where I failed. I didn't establish this. I didn't establish this. If I had it to do over again, meanwhile, when I was at Bowling Green, Utah, Florida, Ohio State,
What kind of cracker is that? Is that a Ritz? Damn good cracker.
Do we want to ask who's the face of college basketball?
We can. Sure. I don't have anything else.
I don't know if anyone's interested. Who won what was the results yesterday?
Gambling, 54.5%.
Wow.
Close one.
With Coach K and now Jay Wright retiring from coaching, who is the face of college basketball?
Mm-hmm. Kirby. Forgot Kirby.
Oh, that's right. He won one this year. Living the now. Good job, Mark. Bill Self.
I'm Izzo. All right.
Rick Pitino.
God, that's funny. Damn.
Jim Boeheim.
Well, let's see. It's Tony Bennett.
How do you spell Boeheim?
Boeheim.
Yep. Okay.
Calipari. Yeah, we'll go with those four.
All right. CALIPARI.
ARI.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Bill Self, Tom Izzo, Jim Boeheim, John Calipari. All right. We're good.
Paul, don't think you can be the face of a sport if you've never won a championship. In fact, Huggies never even played for the championship. Yeah, DC's probably going back to Fox.
Coming back.
TB was a winning culture.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. Lance Medow does some work on a couple of Sirius XM sports channels. He's part of the Giants Radio Network. We'll talk a little Giants and their 2 top 7 picks in this year's draft. What does he think they'll do? What does he think they want to do? And will they be one and the same? Lance Medow. Followed by John Fanta at the top of the hour. He will join us about the big story that broke last night. Jay Wright retiring at age 60 from coaching. Not just retiring from Villanova, retiring from coaching. So, there's no other job. No, he's not going to be the next head coach of the Lakers.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, please. For 30 minutes, that's where Twitter immediately went. Well, he's finally going to the NBA. He's done all he can do in college. Listen, the Sixers had a blank piece of paper in front of Jay Wright for the last half dozen years. All right. If he wanted to be in the NBA,
he would have been there already.
Right. And he wouldn't have had to sell his house.
And because of the Jay Wright retiring and Coach K retiring earlier, we're asking you in our poll question today, who's the face of college basketball? Bill Self, Tom Izzo, Jim Boeheim, John Calipari. You can go to that, Mark Miller, FL Sports Network, and soon, the David Moulton.
Yeah, I'll get around to it here.
That's why I said soon.
Right.
I just put the question up. I can't ask that much out of you.
I liked yesterday's question. It was in honor of 420. In the state of Florida, what do we think will be legalized first? Recreational marijuana use or, recreational widespread sports betting?
Close vote. Sports betting wins out with just less than 45 or 55% of the vote. So pretty close vote.
All right.
Today, there could have been we could have just dropped one of these coaches and said there isn't one, which I almost think is really the case. Or it'll be a combination this year of a lot of them. But Self, Izzo, Boeheim, Calipari are your choices right now for who is the face of college basketball for today's poll question.
Hey, listen, we made a mistake earlier.
Yeah, we missed one, didn't we?
We forgot somebody. We mentioned that with Coach K, Roy Williams, Tubby Smith retiring during this season, there were 10 coaches in college basketball who had won a national championship before the season started. Now there's only 7 with Tubby, Coach K, and Jay Wright retiring. And we were trying to go through the mental gymnastics of, how many Division I football coaches have won a national championship? And we came up with 4, and we kept going, man, I think there's a 5th. Is there a 5th? Are we missing somebody? Yeah, we were.
The guy that just won it
3.5 months ago. Kirby. Yeah, there you go. Welcome to the club, big fella. Or little fella, as the case may be. So you got Nick, you got Dabo, you got Jimbo, you got Mac. Don't forget Mac Brown at North Carolina. He won it at Texas. And Kirby. So we got 7 in basketball, 5 in football. Tell you what. Who will be the 6th? College football. If you had to bet, my $20. Who
I'll
will
bet the guy at Ohio State.
You think Day there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that to me would be where the easy money would go.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know if you go to Oklahoma or Texas. I don't know.
Well, they're coming into the SEC now.
Well, but
they don't get automatic bids anymore.
They're not there yet. They're not there yet. So maybe they take advantage of not being there yet.
Look, you can say Oklahoma. Don't say anybody else from that conference.
Well, I agree. I mean,
okay, let's just stop that flipping now.
I think we need to stop it with football, basketball, and baseball, to be brutally honest with you. They got to prove themselves. All right, they got a great name, but they're kind of going through what Notre Dame went through for 20 years, in which they had a great name and didn't have the results to go with it.
I mean, they're back every time they win a game, and we sit there and could it be the former Oklahoma coach?
There you go, Lincoln at USC. But if Ryan Day would be the smart money,
right?
Will it be Harbaugh? Will it be Brian Kelly? Will it be his replacement? It's interesting. If you had $20 right now, a little futures board, and you had to bet who's going to be the sixth, who will join the club first?
I'd bet Day, but Lincoln Riley might be a close second. Because we've all been waiting. While Texas has been back 17 times, no one's ever granted USC being back because they've not had the right guy there to lead them back. Now I think we all believe not only do they have the right guy, they've got the right placement of NIL and everything else they're going to need to do to take USC back to their glory days.
I wish it wasn't so outrageous to say, but Mario Cristobal.
Well, it's funny you say that. We have someone on Twitch that says, hopefully Norvell. No one has yet said Cristobal. Swamp Buggy said Napier. Florida's got a lot of work to do. I mean, he's hitting the transfer portal hard, but he's going to have to hit it hard for about 3 years to get in this conversation. I mean, they are playing from behind. I hope Gator fan realizes that. It's kind of like Knowles fan. Norvell inherited a situation that was far worse than what you thought, and you thought it was bad. I hope, by the way, that Miami, and I don't think this will be the case, I hope they actually lower expectations on Cristobal. I don't want Miami to fall into the Texas trap that we just talked about, which has been the case. Every time Miami does a little something, Miami's back.
Oh, Manny Diaz. As soon as we hired him, everyone was saying we're back.
Well, but also Mark Richt.
Yeah, Mark Richt was really
especially when you were 11-0 and number 2 in the country in Thanksgiving weekend. I mean, it was real easy to think that not only are we back, but hell, we'll recruit off this and we ain't ever going back to right. Lost to Pitt at Pitt, lost the bowl game badly. Right.
Got pounded in the ACC
championship game. Right. Next thing you know, wow, this is
no, we're not back.
No,
we're just
we're back. All right. We're back down in the middle of the conference again.
And I'm glad you said Cristobal because that, the thing with Norvell and Cristobal, and David and I have talked about this for years. Clemson's now off a little bit. Dabo is not going into the transfer portal. He's not doing it. He's going to get and he will be left behind if he doesn't do it. I'm sorry. You can only recruit so many players because you're going to be wrong. And if everybody else is jumping in the transfer portal and you're not, you will be left behind. I do think Miami and Florida State are in a ripe spot if Dabo doesn't want to play the transfer portal game of what happens to Clemson in the next 5 years.
Well, if you're right, it's good news for Florida State. Because let's face it, Clemson's got to come back to the pack in that division. And so if they do, well, that'll be good news for the Noles. Because when the Noles get their act together, if it's head-to-head, Florida State or Clemson, year in, year out, and long term, I'd bet the Noles. But Clemson's got to come back to the pack first.
And Florida State's got to be right more often than they're wrong with players. I mean, they're working hard, but it's got to all pan out. And thus far, it's just a work in progress.
I'll throw this out there. If Clemson does start coming back to the pack, I mean, because they did win 10 games last year. Mm-hmm. I mean, people treat it like they went 7-5. But if Clemson does come back to the pack, I think Dabo leaves. I think he'll go somewhere else. I don't think Dabo can go 8-4 at Clemson. I think he'll leave first. Lance Medow, part of the Giants Radio Network. He'll join us next.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Just very quickly, since you're watching what's on the tube, here's the danger for that franchise. If they lose to the Celtics, that means in the 3 years since they put KD and Kyrie together, you know how many playoff series they've won? That's one more than the Knicks. And they ain't getting younger.
No. Funny because Durant's playing terrible.
Hey, Lindy, is that what Michigan State's done? Are they still trying to play with 18-year-olds? Just curious, because they suck. No, I'm talking about college hockey. It's a question here.
No, I know. But
like, they're terrible. They used to be a premier program in the country, and they're terrible.
Your response is very funny. You're just very blunt about it.
Ugly bag of water. I totally disagree with you. Totally. That was a flaming grease fire he inherited.
What, you talking about Florida? Or Florida State?
State.
Well, he commented on both. That's why I just didn't know.
Now, next year with Ben Simmons, they really should win. They should win big. Don't know if win the whole thing, but they should go deep. I'm just saying that Kyrie and KD both didn't want to go to the Knicks because they didn't want the intense scrutiny that you get when you're on that side of the Hudson. Oh. Win one playoff series in 3 years.
They 100%, Lindy. 100%.
Paul, do those shows have a text line?
No.
Patrick and Cowherd?
Patrick has Twitter.
Right.
I would pay good money for someone to bring Manolos.
To bring what?
Manolos. It's the Cuban spot. Why don't they have delivery, man? Trying to get some croquetas on the go.
Well, NG for a price, sure. We're going to make a few bucks. I think that's the highest bid right now, right?
Yes.
150 and food, drink, and gas.
Correct.
That's the highest bid right now.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. John Fanta from Fox to join us at the top of the hour to talk about Jay Wright's retirement from coaching, not just Villanova. But first, Lance Medow is kind enough to join us. You hear him on various SiriusXM sports channels. He has his own show on Mad Dog Radio. He's part of the Giants radio network, does play-by-play for Westwood One. Lance, it's David and Mark. Thanks for your time. How are you?
I'm doing very well, guys. Thanks for having me on. Hope all is well.
It is, and you can follow Lance on Twitter at Lance Medow, Medow. All right, you're the GM. You've got 5 and 7. What do you think he believes his dream scenario is? Who do the Giants want to see on the board at 5, Lance?
Well, I think they ideally, David, would like to see an offensive lineman, given the issues that they've had over the last few seasons. Right now, they have a hole and a question mark at right tackle. So if you're talking about Charles Cross, you're talking about Evan Neal, you're talking about Ike Ekwonu, I think if one of those three are there, or 2 of those 3 are there, I think they'd be very content grabbing one of them. I think Cross certainly has an appeal because he's arguably the best pass protector probably in this year's draft class. I personally like Ekwonu because of his versatility at guard and tackle, and Neal has the same. But I think if 2 of the 3 are there, I think they'd be more than content with grabbing one of them. And seems to be maybe Cross is one of their favorites. And it's understandable because, remember, he comes from a Mike Leach offense at Mississippi State where they pass the ball like crazy. And I think Brian Dable, who's now the new head coach of the Giants, wants to do something similar. So to answer your question, I think 5, if they can grab one of those offensive linemen, I think they'd be very happy. And then at 7, I think they would love to address the opposite side of the ball for their new defensive coordinator, Wink Martindale, whether that be a pass rusher or maybe Sauce Gardner out of Cincinnati, arguably the top corner, because James Bradbury right now, his status on the roster is very much in question. Joe Shane, the GM, spoke to the media the other day, said there's a contingency plan to have him remain, but I do think because of their salary cap restrictions, they're still very much interested in moving him. So if you move James Bradbury, whether guys it be before the draft or after the draft, I think Gardner at least makes you feel content. Okay, hey, we could slide him in, and we don't feel as if now we have a huge hole entering training camp.
If Thibodeau slips to 5, would that change the Giants' plans in your estimation?
I don't know if it would change it. I think I'd put him in the conversation because they certainly could use a pass rusher. They didn't have a lot of sacks outside of Leonard Williams last season, so they can use the guy to complement Ojulari, who was their draft pick out of Georgia last year, who I thought had a very nice rookie campaign, but really didn't start to come alive until late last season. I think the biggest question with Thibodeau is more of, not character off the field issues, because I think that's unfair to him, but some people have questioned whether or not he's got that work ethic that 3 to 4 years into the NFL, he's going to feel as if he's not a finished product and there's more to add to his plate. So I think maybe that has some, including the Giants, questioning him. But personally, if you would ask me if he's there at 5 or 7, I'd absolutely heavily consider him, because remember, you're making the pick beyond 2022. This is not just about improving the Giants roster now. It's about improving what they can do 2 to 3 years down the road, considering they have their fair share of questions on both sides of the ball.
Lance Medow, Sirius XM, Mad Dog Radio, NFL Radio, part of the Giants Radio Network, play-by-play for Westwood One. You can follow Lance on Twitter at Lance Medow, Medow. How much do you think the Giants want to trade down or even out at 7? I mean, the talk of acquiring draft picks for 2023 in case they need to replace Daniel Jones, or trading down to get more picks because they have so many needs. Once again, Joe Shane, if you could get truth serum to him, do you think he wants to do something with 7 which doesn't keep him at 7?
It's a great question, and he actually was asked about that yesterday when he spoke to the media, and his response was, it really depends on, A, what you get in return, meaning if you're not making a huge move, it's hard to believe that the Giants would be guaranteed to get a first-round pick. I think if you're going to move out of 7, I think the ultimate goal is, if you're the Giants, you want to get a first-round pick, and the reason why you want to get a first-round pick, and I'm talking about 2023 guys, is the fact that if Daniel Jones doesn't pan out, or he doesn't stay healthy, which is still obviously a looming question mark, you want to protect yourself. Maybe you have an additional asset next season. If you are high in the draft, maybe you position yourself to take quarterback. If not, maybe you package 2 ones to move up. So I think if that presents itself, to answer your question, I think Joe Shane would say, okay, hey, we should definitely consider that, especially if we like, let's say, 15 to 16 players, and we move down a few spots, we could still get a player we like and grab an additional first-round pick. Heck, sign me up for that. But if we're talking about maybe you get an additional second-rounder, I don't know what that does for the Giants, whether they get the second-rounder this year or they get the second-rounder next year. I think if you're going to move down, you have to get a first-round pick for 2023, because the goal is we protect ourselves to go after a young quarterback if things don't go according to plan with Daniel Jones. So that would be, to me, the only situation where I think Joe Shane says, okay, I'm content with moving down. If it's a slight move, it only gets you a second or a third-round pick. I don't understand how much value that gives the Giants, considering they have a lot of draft capital to begin with already this season.
All right, I don't mean this question to be a jerk, but is there a spot, Lance, where the Giants feel comfortable with their roster? Is there a position group where they're like, all right, we're good here? Because when I'm reading Giants previews, it doesn't seem like there are spots where there aren't holes right now.
Well, it's a fair question. I don't think it's stupid at all. There are a lot of question marks across the board. There's no doubt about it. And I think the record over the last few seasons proves that. And also the durability question marks at a lot of positions. For example, I would throw out, to answer what you were throwing out there, I would say wide receiver. I think they feel pretty good on paper. You have Kenny Golladay, who they made the big splash for in free agency last year. Obviously, he did not find the end zone, so the stats were disappointing, but I think the talent is there. Kadarius Toney, who they drafted in the first round, is very elusive. He's a dynamic player that I think Brian Dable and Mike Kafka, their offensive coordinator, could take advantage. But he also could not stay on the field last year because he dealt with his fair share of injuries. So there's a question mark looming over him. You've got Darius Slayton, who's a relatively young wide receiver. He showed some flashes as a rookie, has not been able to duplicate that. Why? Well, he's also dealt with some injuries over the course of the last few seasons. But I do think there's potential there. And then Sterling Shepard is another guy who they decided to bring back. They reworked his contract. He's also a top slot receiver. But the mystery is, can he stay healthy? So I just named you 4 wide receivers who I think are more than capable of moving the ball up and down the field. They all have different strengths. Daniel Jones could spread the wealth. The question is, guys, when we talk about the Giants in week 7 or week 8, am I going to be able to guarantee you that 2 of those 4 are on the field? I can't even do that because they don't have the track record. So wide receiver, I think, on paper is a strength. But how many times have we had conversations every offseason? Hey, on paper, this unit looks great. On paper, this team looks great. And then all of a sudden, we get midway through the season, it's a completely different story. So if you were to put my back against the wall and pin me and say, hey, which one do you feel good about if you're the Giants? To me, wide receiver would come to note, but it's still a question mark because of the durability concern.
Let's assume the glass is half full, which it hasn't been for a while for the Giants. Let's just say their key guys are healthy. How good are they if their good players are healthy? That's a fair question, isn't it? I mean, Gettleman deserved all the grief that he got. He did not do a good job. They had a bad record. But he also didn't get a lot of breaks in terms of the key players staying healthy. Let's just say Joe Shane gets that break and Gettleman's best players stay healthy for him. Lance, what kind of a team do you think the Giants have?
Well, I think, once again, if health cooperates, to your point, then I don't see why it's a stretch to say that the Giants can't compete to be in that 500 ballpark and maybe scratch the surface of a wild card. I don't think that's crazy and that's a stretch. We are asking this offense to take major strides. I mean, it was really stretching and pulling teeth for this team to score 20 points a game last season. I mean, that's how bad it was from an offensive standpoint because, A, of course, you lost Daniel Jones for the last 6 games. B, the offensive line had trouble, and everything else was going to feed off of that. And I think it put a lot of strain on the defense. But the defense was productive. The defense did keep them in games. However, once again, Wink Martindale, new defensive coordinator, new scheme. He's going to ask these guys to do something completely different than Patrick Graham. And I think those wild cards you have to take into consideration in addition to the health and the durability. I think they certainly addressed the offensive line. They brought in some free agents. We'll see whether or not they can add a few draft picks. That will go a long way. But can Daniel Jones stay healthy? I mean, I was talking about the wide receivers. Guys, Daniel Jones has not been able to put together a full season. He's missed at least 2 starts every single year. I don't think if you're the Giants, you can't go in saying we're going to definitely get 15 games out of Daniel Jones. There's a reason why they invested in Tyrod Taylor. Now, I do think Tyrod Taylor gives them a more legitimate shot to win games if Daniel Jones is not healthy. And I think what also helps it is the division is completely wide open. I don't think, maybe outside of the Cowboys, there's not really a true consistent juggernaut. Nobody's won back-to-back NFC East titles since the early 2000s when the Eagles won 4 in a row. So that by default gives them a chance, if they're healthy, to remain competitive. But I think you have to keep expectations in check. That's why I think if they could scratch the surface of 500, if that could keep them in wild card contention, which I don't see why it wouldn't, because if you look at the last few years, 500 teams have been in the thick of things. I think that's a realistic element in play for them. But once again, Daniel Jones has to stay healthy in addition to all of the other questions that we have about health and durability.
So in other words, the Eagles season from a year ago when they started 2-5, but kind of gelled a little bit, went 9-8 and snuck in as the 7th seed. That could be the ceiling if things go well. Lance, we know you're busy. We appreciate you making time for us. All the best. SiriusXM, Giants Radio Network. Hopefully we can talk again.
Absolutely. Guys, it's always a pleasure. I appreciate you having me on. Take care.
Lance Medow. Follow him on Twitter at Lance Medow, MEDOW. He does a couple of weekend shows on Mad Dog Radio. He's a fill-in on NFL Radio, and he does the Giants.
That's a pro right there. That's a pro. Slipped in both names and answers subtly, but didn't do it to say, I know what your name is. He did it with a little, just little. That's a pro, David.
I think that the general manager of the Giants wants to blow it up. I really do. I think if he had his druthers, he would trade Bradbury, their top corner. He would trade Saquon Barkley. I really think he would tear it down to get himself in position to get one of the quarterbacks next year. But I do think this is where in the interview process, the owner said, hey, I want you to give this Daniel Jones guy every chance And so because of it, I think for the first half of the year, he's going to try to keep whatever the core of this team is, Mark, together and see if Dable and them can get off to a decent start. I mean, the Giants have started like 1-5 on average, 9 of the last 10 years. But I really think the general manager wants to tear it down.
We're not a very good roster, but we can't stay healthy.
Right.
I mean, that was
right.
If you listen to that, and your point well taken, and I think he kind of alluded to that being what the GM wants to do with the Giants. But really, at the end of the day, we've stuck our neck out on a few players. They can't stay healthy, and the rest of our lineup's not very good.
Besides that, Mrs. Lincoln,
how was the play?
Yeah, it's been tough, Mark. I can tell you firsthand. It's been tough. It's been a tough watch. It's been a tough follow.
Well, it's only been a tough follow because you're going to have to get the package to watch it because they don't put them on television anymore.
I know.
I mean, they are down near, they're right now at an NFL Network Thursday night game level, and it's the New York Giants, for crying out loud.
Well, you were asking earlier about who's going to draft first next year, Jets or Giants. Hey, right now, who would you put on the clock for 2023?
Both of those teams. I'd lean Jets because of the AFC.
I will say the signing, like the Giants went 0 I think it was 6 once Jones got hurt, and then they lost out because their backup quarterbacks were horrible. They at least, Tyrod Taylor's now the backup, so if something like that happens again, they'll probably scratch out a few wins, which may prevent them from being one of the top 3 teams in the draft. But, whew.
I mean, you have to throw Houston in there as well.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
And Detroit's always a player for this game.
It's funny. I actually think the Lions will be, put it this way, who will finish above the other, Lions or Bears? I think there's a chance the Bears take a step back. Miller and Moulton. John Fanta to talk about Jay Wright's retirement next.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial
and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. I don't know if you remember it, but there was a kids thing called a sit and spin where you basically so super 70s, somewhere in the 70s. Dad, I'm bored. Well, sit down on the floor and spin around until you have to vomit. He's got a picture of that thing. It's the worst toy ever. Made me smile. How do you watch the best of Miller and Moulton? That would be
Twitch? I don't know.
I don't think there's such an animal. Doesn't exist.
Does it, Felipe?
No.
I mean, our Twitch show isn't archived, is it?
No. Listen on Memorial Day? Oh, wow. That's great sucking up there, Hops. Impressive.
Wow.
I don't even feel that way, and I'm one of the hosts of the show.
In fact, I was looking around to see what show you were talking about.
I mean, every once in a while, David and I will walk to the car and go, that was a pretty good show. By the way, did they...
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the top of the 8 o'clock hour. Final hour of Miller and Moulton in Lake City, Tampa, St. Pete, and Port Charlotte and Venice. We are halfway home for those of you in the 239. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. Thanks so much for being with us. John Fanta's kind enough to join us once again. College basketball on Fox, part of the field-of-68.com. You can follow him on Twitter at John_Fanta, Fanta. John, it's David and Mark. Once again, how are you?
I'm doing well, gentlemen. Good morning. Still in process mode, quite candidly with you this morning at the end of an all-time coaching career in college basketball.
Well, John, curious how much it sounds like it took you by complete surprise, although there were some tweets that you had sent out that had us believing you may have known a little something. So just how big was the shock factor yesterday?
Well, I think that for me, guys, it was one of those things where this has been murmured about in some circles, but nobody actually believed it or wanted to believe it because you couldn't see Jay Wright, who was viewed as one of the faces of college basketball now, especially with the retirement of Mike Krzyzewski and of Roy Williams. And you thought he's going to take the torch and be a guy who we look at as one of the deans of the game and somebody who, when the game had problems or when the game had issues or when someone needed to address the state of the sport, we would look to Jay Wright. And the amount of winning he's done, it's not as if he goes out in a moment of defeat or in a moment where it wasn't going well or in a moment where he was overwhelmed and stressed to a point where he lost love for it. Over the last 10 years, he's won 283 games. Over the last 9 years, his team's record is 263 and 53. 2 national championships in 3 years, 3 Final Fours in 6 years, a combined 18 Big East championships. The list goes on and on. But I think that when I got a phone call yesterday afternoon from a source saying, this is actually happening. It took a good 5 minutes to fully grasp the fact that this era of Villanova basketball, this era in the Big East has come to an end. I would sit here and say right now, and there are some people who root for other schools who would roll their eyes at me, but the last 8 years in the Big East Conference has been the Jay Wright era. He has owned the league. He has won either the regular season championship in the conference or the tournament championship in the conference, or both, in every year for the last 9 years now. He goes down as an all-time great in Philadelphia, as a Big East Mount Rushmore figure, and as one of the winningest coaches in college basketball. And not just that, guys, but he's done it the right way. He didn't cheat. He never got wrapped up in a scandal. If he walked out of a room, anybody would say a good thing about him, because that's who Jay was as a person. And the amount of guys that he has developed as NBA talents and as young men at a small Catholic school outside of Philadelphia. Wright did it his way, and he does go out on top. And the suddenness of it, after we watched a retirement tour by one of the game's legends in Mike Krzyzewski, that's the thing that I think is the most rattling, is just the way that Jay Wright's tenure ended. It didn't end with some tour. It didn't end with some final season. Ironically enough, he and Coach K met in a secret scrimmage back in October. If we had both known it was their final season, that thing might have been streamed or broadcast live. Now, Jay Wright hangs it up.
I was going to say, you and Raph would have been there for sure. He's John Fanta of Fox. Follow him on Twitter at John_Fanta. Do you, from the rumblings that you had heard, and he gave an interview at the Final Four to Dana O'Neill in which he said, you kind of at this stage of life and career, you start taking inventory at the end of every season. And we look back now at that interview and go, he was maybe taking more inventory than we thought. But how much of it, from the rumblings that you've heard, is where the sport is going, i.e. the transfer portal? John, how big of a deal is this in terms of the unhappiness level with coaches?
It's a big deal. And those coaches are the same people who have publicly advocated, or if they've been critical, some of the critique has been met with negative feedback. So let's make one thing clear to start. Nobody is going to argue that a student athlete, and the people who do, frankly, are short-sighted and silly. Nobody's going to argue that a student athlete should benefit off their name, image, and likeness, and should have been doing so a long time before now. By the same token, it is leading to pretty blatant tampering in college basketball. Recruiting in the layup line has only increased if it was happening before. And kids getting reached out to with under-the-table offers and behind closed-doors happenings that, he got offered an endorsement deal by someone behind the scenes. The NIL deals, the schools aren't supposed to have anything to do with those. It's the student athlete benefiting off their brand. Yeah, but guys, Oscar Shibwe is not getting a $2 million endorsement deal to come back to Kentucky unless he plays at Kentucky. If Oscar Shibwe was wearing a Mississippi jersey or a Texas jersey or a Oregon jersey, nothing against those programs. I'm sorry. You're not Kentucky. There's only a couple of those. And so there are over 1,400 names in the transfer portal because kids think that there's greener grass out there. And that's fine. They have every right to go look at that. But the fact is, basketball right now is secondary. It is no longer the priority. For some guys that have a different brain, it is. But for most people, it's not. And for coaches, they're coaching a lot more egos and issues than they are coaching basketball. And you could go back and say, oh, so painful for them. They're making millions. They are. But for a lot of guys, it's not what they signed up for originally. It's not why they fell in love. And Jay Wright has never been a guy who's been accused of cheating. He's never been a guy that's been wrapped around that type of stuff. He could go get the one and done. He's got a brand big enough. He's won more than enough. He could go convince the kid that this is the right way. And, there's a Philadelphia business. Here's how we're going to get you connected. His kids were getting NIL money this past year. But you'd be lying if you didn't look at the fact that college basketball is in a state of mystery, that the NCAA really can't enforce name, image, and likeness because Congress has said you can't without collective bargaining. So that's the situation that is currently happening in the college sports space. And coaches see the writing on the wall with a period of mystery and with the fact that some of this stuff's going to take years to figure out. And without regulations, if coaches are at a certain age, they're saying, you know what? I'll go make bank doing TV and not have to be up late at night stressed about what a kid's schedule is tomorrow. I'm out.
We asked the question today, John, who's now the face of college basketball? As you mentioned, Roy Williams, Coach K, both retired. Now Jay Wright retiring, who would have been the face of college basketball going forward. In your estimation, is there a face of college basketball? And if so, who is it?
I think that there are a couple of faces. I don't think there's one main one. I think that Tom Izzo has long been a face of this sport, and until he pegs it up at Michigan State, he needs to be viewed as a face. I think that Tony Bennett had a rough year at Virginia, but Tony Bennett has always been a guy that could be relied upon to talk about the game in a very competent way. This was a one-off bad year for the Cavaliers. He's going to get them back to where they belong. Virginia's got a bright future as long as he's on the sideline. I think there are emerging faces. I think the current coaching cycle showed that we are in for the next 5-10 years. We're going to have new faces emerge in the sport. It's just a transition period. Every sport goes through transition. It does. The NFL 10 years ago was going through a bit of an identity crisis with just being compelling. It was compelling, but it certainly isn't what it is now. Wasn't what it is today, where the majority of the league is just great quarterback play. Major League Baseball has been in an identity crisis for years. College basketball has an identity to figure out. There's not one man that's going to lift the mantle. I think there's several riders. I actually think one of which is in Florida. I think Todd Golden in Gainesville could be one of college basketball's next faces. I really do. Because he's young. He's got a fresh mind. He gets it. He gets the current space with NIL. He doesn't back away from it. And he uses analytics in his decision-making as a coach. He's new school. He's got a great mentality. I think Todd Golden's one of the future faces of college basketball. And I've said that on a couple of shows in the last 24 hours, and I'll bring it to you guys down in Florida this morning. But right now, we're in a period where there's an open door. Somebody will step in, and somebody will win. But for college hoops right now, Jay Wright was going to be that guy. And that is what is sad about this morning is he won't be, and he made the best decision for himself and his family. He's not retiring from Villanova to go coach the Lakers. That's crazy. He would have done that long ago if he had any itch to coach in the NBA. But he hangs it up here at a time where he was going to be relied upon to be a major voice. He doesn't owe anyone anything. So you wish him the best in retirement, while also understanding that the sport of college basketball does not have a lead face right now.
No, it does not. And who knows, John? He might be sitting alongside of you. I have a feeling a little bidding war is going to take place between Fox and CBS. John, we're pressed for time. We thank you for making time for us. Enjoy your off season, which hopefully will get underway here soon. Thank you, John. John Fanta of Fox. Follow him on Twitter at John_Fanta.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, the Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, the Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with the Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. And use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. You need somebody.
Well,
because I need the cash.
Well, unfortunately, I mean, they've cut me damn near in half.
Yeah, but again,
Right.
I have no side gigs. Any side gigs that get a little
Right.
would be.
Yeah. Okay.
He was on the show. I mean, we don't do a lot of local, Jimmy. That's the one thing there. I mean, we did him in the 9 o'clock hour right after he got the job.
Who? Chambers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And apparently because we had him on, the other local show didn't want him on.
Coming back.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. Thanks so much for being with us. So we just had Lance Medow on late last hour talking about the Giants drafting at 5 and 7. The draft's a week from tonight. 8 teams, 8 have multiple first-round picks. Doubt all 8 will make both of their first-round picks. There will be some trades, but we're going through those 8 teams show by show that have the multiple first-round picks. I think we're 4 or 5 teams into the 8. So we'll have another one tomorrow, and Pat Kerwin's scheduled to join us at roughly this time tomorrow as well.
I got to read a book.
I beg your pardon?
I've got to read a book. I mean, I have to.
You have to?
Yes. I got a book in the mail yesterday.
Is this an assignment?
It is, kind of, sort of. And if I fail this assignment, I will fail someone, and I can't do that. Mike Westhoff wrote a book. We had him on the show.
Right. He said he was writing it.
And it's done. And, he texted me or called me a couple of months ago, and he just said, you're talking about the book, and he says, hey, send me your address. So after I said, I'll text it to you when we're done. And I'd completely forgotten about it. And yesterday, a package arrived.
And it was for you, which had to be a shocking experience at the house.
Thank you. I mean, when anything in a box or a package comes, it's never for me.
Surprised you just didn't instinctively put it on your wife's pile and she ended up opening
Funny
it up.
you say that. I set it on her desk and I went, wait a minute. That doesn't say a woman's name. That's my name.
Hold on a second. That's the Mark Miller part of the household. I'll be darned.
And so Mike sent me his book and had a little nice note inside of it. And the gist of it said, tell me what you think. Well, I've got to read it now.
Yes, you do. Or give it to me.
No. I'll give it to you when I'm done with it.
Good.
But it's not a short book either. It was clipped out at 400 pages.
Well, Mike's a little wordy. So
I'm excited.
Plus, he's got 30 years of stories.
And it's all it is. I mean, that's what he was telling me about. That's why I'm excited to read it. It's the players he coached, special team guys that turned into big time players. And so I'm looking forward to reading it. But I was very excited to get a package in the mail yesterday. You like the mail, David.
I do.
The mail to me is bills, and junk. So to get something good in the mail, I felt great yesterday.
All right. I'll be honest with you. So I think my love for the mail. My mom's parents had a front door where they had a mail slot. So as a little kid, when all of a sudden the screen door opened and then stuff came through the slot, I mean, it was like, it was exciting. But also, when I was in college, I mean, if you got mail, you went down to the mailbox and there was a postcard for you or a note from someone. It was like, oh my goodness, somebody loves me. Somebody cares about me.
So, and your mom didn't cook, so it's not like she was baking cookies and sending them to you and things like that. Did she but would she go buy things and send them to you? Because I never got squat.
No, her mom did.
My parents lived close enough to me in college that if they wanted to see me, it was like, hey, we'll come up Sunday and take you out to dinner.
Now, I will say my mom and her mom combined with the care package in terms of what was sent to me. But yeah, I would get probably every 3 weeks, I would get a care package, which needless to say, when you're in the dorms, I mean, everybody keeps track of who's getting food from home. And so there were times where it was a struggle. It actually was what made me lock my door room in my dorm, because we all just kind of left our doors open and we all came in and borrowed things from I need toothpaste or this, that, and the other thing. But my care package was gone. I went to class and came back, and the Pop-Tarts and the spaghetti in the cans, and it was just gone. And I'm like, oh, this is unacceptable.
So that caused you to
That
take
caused
the
me-
man's food. Doors
Darn
are
right,
locked.
right. You could have stole my cassette player. Remember, I'm dating myself. My cassette player. You could have stole money from me. Wouldn't have cared. My Pop-Tarts were gone, Mark. My brown sugar Pop-Tarts were gone. And even though I was one of the few in the dorm that had a car my freshman year, but there was like 12 parking spots. So I didn't want to have to use the car.
Right.
Because if I lost it, it might take weeks to get it back. Weeks to get it back. So I didn't want to use it. I mean, and when I would loan it out, it was like, listen, whatever beer you buy for yourself, you have to buy for me, because I know this car is going to get parked 2 blocks away. So I need a little something out of the deal. So now you ate my Pop-Tarts. I have to replace these.
Brown sugar, go-to Pop-Tart.
Totally.
I like the strawberry.
I was about to say I'm more of a strawberry guy.
Strawberry with the frosting.
Yes.
Oh, this is a poll question.
Ooh.
Probably a lot better than this face of college basketball thing.
I know.
Wait. You eat it cold or you warm it up?
Cold. Cold.
Both. Yes, but
Cold.
I'm more warm side.
It's better warm. I eat them cold.
It's
Toasters.
every answer here is a correct answer.
Correct.
No
Yeah,
one's saying anything
that's a
that's
good point.
incorrect.
Anyway, continue.
I mean, they're amazing warmed up. Amazing. But that takes 2-3 minutes.
Right, and they're terrible cold, but that's still okay because you're in a
Right.
hurry, you're grabbing the package, and you're out the door.
Exactly. I'd bring them to class with me.
Yes.
I'd be sitting there to get there. I tried to be on time. I really did. Even though I had the arrogance of, listen, I'm paying for this. I can get here whenever I want. But I really tried to be on time. But I would eat breakfast in class.
Just don't do any physical activity after you eat Pop-Tarts. Wouldn't recommend it.
Okay, Felipe, take a look at me.
No,
Felipe.
I know.
Don't talk. Think for a second. Okay, you are looking. I almost broke into Cosell here. You are looking.
Fanta did a little early in that interview, too, by the way. That first Jay Wright.
There was a little Jim Mandich, and I don't even know if he's familiar with the late Jim Mandich, but there was a little staccato.
There was a little bit of, it was somewhere across between Mandich, Rome, and Cosell.
Yes.
That morphed into Fanta there.
Poignant pauses and points I want to make. So you just said looking at both Miller and Moulton, but when you said it, you were looking directly at Moulton. And you said, you don't want to do anything physical after you have Pop-Tarts.
I said that because I have a story that
Probably involves you in a pickup basketball game.
No, well, not pickup basketball, more organized basketball.
Okay.
Okay.
Once again, how many pickup/organized sporting events do you think I played in college?
You never played IM sports with your buddies?
You got to remember, he did work pretty early on in college and worked throughout college.
I broadcasted sports from day one in college. I played golf. That was the only thing I played in college. All right. But no, I was not the pickup sport guy. Honestly, I realized that athletically I was limited.
Peak.
Yeah.
It was done.
Right. So, no, I knew my limitations.
Okay.
Look at me. Don't do something physical after you eat the Pop-Tarts.
The only thing physical you and I are going to do after eating a Pop-Tart is walk to the couch and press
I was going to say,
power on the remote.
Sometimes it is, demanding to get the recliner to go as far back as I want it to. Yes. Mm-hmm. Don't do anything physical.
In fact, it almost caused Moulton to get a power remote control for his lazy boy instead of having to just lift the.
You know, it really does suck sometimes when you're so far reclined that the clicker won't hit the thing perfectly, and then you have to move to change the channel and the volume. I mean,
That's the type of physical activity
exactly
we're talking about here.
Right. I mean, that's how much the Pop-Tarts, all right, are going to bother me before my physical activity.
They put you in a coma, okay? That's the point I'm trying to make.
You know what, Felipe? I've been in a carbohydrate coma since I was 9. And my mother's listening going, yep, served you well. Served me well, I know that. Miller and Moulton.
Physical activity.
Unbelievable. What show is he producing? Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network. David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. And use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Wow. The Colts' top 2 receivers have 146 career catches. Cooper Kupp had 145 last year. Their number 2 receiver, Drulin, has 18 career catches.
Well, their first one is the Ohio State kid, right?
Oh, God, with a P, right? I can see it.
The fact that they have Kyle Korver as a shooting coach.
Pittman.
He's Ohio State, isn't he?
I believe so.
Pittman Jr.?
Yeah.
Pretty sure he went to Ohio State.
Yeah, Finn fan, I adored Mandich. I don't know if there was anybody I liked more that we interviewed. When he undressed Casio at the Super Bowl, it's still one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life. When you wake up and put that Bic razor to your face, how do you not want to slash your own throat? It's after we were at the Clevelander till like 5, 6 in the morning, doing the show the next day. We had Mandich on. and Cassio went home, and he looked over at John. You went home, and I mean,
he went home to watch Letterman because who was on? Rickles
and
Billy Crystal.
Billy Crystal.
Right. So he left us 11-ish. 11-ish. We stayed till 4.
That's the most hooked on phonics I've ever seen David in my life.
And
I very rarely have seen you drunk.
We
were
were
pretty good about 3 drinks and quitting.
We were cutting up, and we decided we're staying. And we were buying people drinks and we were dancing. And
is this in the 10s or the 00s?
This is, was it first or second Miami Super Bowl? First. So it was January 07.
07, yeah.
Yeah. Because he got sick again at the second one. He left mid Super Bowl, was never on the air again.
That's awesome. But again, I only ask because that was kind of like the last days of, I'm going to leave so I can watch Letterman live.
Right.
That was
very, very true.
The final era of that, pretty much. Yeah. I grew up in a pretty crazy time. YouTube being born.
I don't know. I'll take mine over yours. Because I started without phones. I started with a phone that you had to...
You did see the 80s, I will say.
Saw the internet start.
The Hammer, meaning Goodell?
Everything that you saw start, I did too. Plus all the others.
We've never had...
No, we never had Roger.
Or are you talking about Hank Goldberg? We did have Hank.
Did we or did
we
you?
Didn't, right. I had Hank.
Anyways, the story that no one wants to hear. One morning, I served myself some Pop-Tarts, warmed them up, made myself some chocolate milk.
Gotta go.
I was a sophomore in high school.
Gotta get it out. He thinks this is interesting.
It's a Saturday.
Really does, and it's still going on.
And I'm like...
The story's not done yet.
No. It's when he's in high school. And
oh my God, I have basketball practice today.
Chocolate milk and
Pop-Tarts. And I'm like already finishing my
15.
Pop-Tarts. And I show up to practice.
Right.
And I'm late. And they make me run because I'm late.
These shorts are 15 years old.
And I yacked all over the court.
There you go. By the way, I don't think he yacked because of the Pop-Tarts. I think he yacked because of the chocolate milk.
Okay, but the chocolate milk and the Pop-Tart.
I'm just saying, I think you yacked. Okay. Little do you realize you did not yak because of the Pop-Tarts. You yacked because of the chocolate milk.
I think it was a mixture of both.
Again, I feel a lot better that I got that story, though.
I was glad we had to hear that.
That's why I said story.
Self-editing is a point that you still have
Here
not.
we go. We're coming back.
In 10 seconds. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'd like to apologize to our Twitch audience.
I would, too.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
$22 until we're done. For those of you in Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, Venice, Lake City, and surrounding areas. For those in the 239, the bonus hour still to come. Pat Kerwin on the show tomorrow. Not sure what team we'll dive into with multiple draft picks tomorrow.
Let's get to the important things. If you've never texted the show, text FSN Radio to 21,000 for those of you in the Port Charlotte, Lake City, and Tampa markets who may not have done so yet. We'd love to hear from you.
Okay.
And if you want to see the show and get the riveting stories that come during the commercial breaks, join us twitch.tv/Miller and Moulton. And while you're there, follow us because the draft show's a week away.
Right.
We will do 5 uninterrupted hours during the draft or thereabouts.
They'll be drinking. They'll be eating. I don't know if we can promise you riveting Felipe stories like the one he just told during the break. But I don't know. Maybe we'll need to take a moment or two. And
are we inviting Felipe?
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I have grown fairly attached. I'm very fond of him. He's already made an impact in my family. All right. My granddaughter, apparently now they named the fan in the house that she just stares at. I mean, she is 11 weeks old. So,
Fans and commercials on television, the
Right.
changing of lights and volume will get her going too.
So, when your parents, they like turn everything into alliteration. So it wasn't just the fan. They had to name the fan. And so they named it the Felipe fan. And that is because of you, young lad. All right. So
and I haven't, and I feel guilty because you are going to get an invite for dinner on a Sunday dinner because being the Catholic school kid that you are, that bodes well in our household. So that same thing. That the wife's like, when am I going to meet Felipe? So
Wow.
The reason
they're caring people. We are married to two very caring people.
Yes.
How? I have no earthly idea.
Well, they were both desperate. What can I tell you? I mean, all of a sudden they start looking. It's kind of like teams in the NFL draft, and you start looking up at the draft board and you realize, oh man, this didn't fall the way I wanted. And so that's how we ended up with the spouses that we ended up with. They looked at the draft board and they went, damn, this is not a good draft for quarterbacks. And so we were the beneficiaries. We were Jake Locker and Christian Ponder.
Not a lot of skill players left. Let's take Moulton.
Exactly.
All right. One skilled guy that out there is Deebo Samuel, that he wants to be traded. He wants out. Get me the hell out of San Francisco.
Right. Now, he was not a first-round pick. And so he has a 4-year rookie contract. And so here he is entering year 4. It's the final year of his rookie deal. And he's clearly underpaid, as damn near every rookie is. And yeah, he wants out. And reportedly, Mark, it's not just the money. It's he doesn't like the fact that Kyle Shanahan is using him as both a running back and a wide receiver. He thinks it's going to shorten his career. And he may be right.
He may be right. But he's a dynamic player, and if not played that way, I don't know if he's worth the money that he wants.
Bingo.
But Dan Orlovsky, who came on the show when he was just getting his career started, and now he's Heisman dust.
Right.
But he sent out a tweet that I thought was interesting. He just said teams that realistically should and can try to get Deebo. And he had them in order. The Jets is number 1. We already talked about the Jets and the reason why. 2 and 3 I'm fascinated by. Baltimore and Indianapolis. Because Indianapolis has a receiver problem.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Cooper Kupp had more catches last year than their top 2 receivers have had in their career.
That would seem to be a problem, although Cooper did have a lot of catches last year.
He did. But Baltimore and Indy both fascinate me.
Well, here's the deal with Indy, though. Let's get to the heart of the matter. Thanks to the Wentz trade, they picked up a 2nd and a 3rd round pick. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been drafted until Saturday.
Correct.
So they've got Washington's 2nd rounder, Washington's 3rd rounder. So we're talking top 3rd of the round, 42 and 73. And then they got a 4th, 2 5ths, a 6th, and a 7th. Well, I mean, Mark, let's be honest. What's it going to take to get Deebo if you're the Colts?
It's going to take both of those picks, your first rounder next year.
There you go. That's to start.
That's just to get warmed up.
At the 2023 first-round pick. And remember, if you're the Niners, you're looking at the Colts thinking, well, this pick's probably going to be in the 20s. I mean, they're a solid team. They're a good team. We think they'll bounce back and make the playoffs.
Hell, it could be in the late 20s because this is the difference maker. What's the one thing the Colts need to make them a special team? They need somebody at receiver.
They need weapons on offense. And Matt Ryan now added to Taylor, the tailback, could make a Pittman better. But, I mean, I would like to think Matt Ryan will make Pittman better than Carson Wentz did. But, yes, they need at least one other receiver. I mean, to me, they should be a candidate for Landry and or Odell.
100%.
But
if you were Indy, would you trade away one next year? I'm guessing probably 1 and 3 next year, 2 and 3 this year.
would I do it
From Indianapolis' standpoint?
for Deebo Samuel? No, because then I also have to pay him $20+ million a year. And I can keep all those draft picks and sign Jarvis Landry for 12 to 15 million on a short-term deal.
Baltimore has 4 picks in the top 100. They have their compensatory pick at pick 100. They pick 14, 45, 76, and 100. Boy, oh boy, in that offense with that quarterback.
Well, let me ask you this. Can that quarterback get the ball to an elite wide receiver?
We don't know.
They can't work out a contract with Lamar. Now they're going to have to work out a contract with Deebo. Also, by the way, if I'm San Francisco, I'm asking for all 4 of those top 100 picks. Just so you know, that's what I'm asking for.
And would you settle
No.
something next year so I keep one of the 3 picks?
Okay.
I mean,
all right.
I need something. I'm going to keep my second rounder. I'll give you next year's second.
No. You got to give me a 1 and a 2 this year and a second next year. I'll let you keep, 3 and 4. Because you got to remember, the way it works is you have to give a team a better pick in next year's draft since you're making them wait. So that's why I won't let you keep your second this year. Because first off, in theory, I'm going to make your team better. Lamar stays healthy. You're going to go to the playoffs. The pick won't be as good in the second round. Now, would you do that deal if those were my terms? A 1 and a 2 this year and your second rounder next year?
If I'm Baltimore, I would.
Okay. Well, and considering what Tyreek Hill, got, or what the Chiefs got for Tyreek Hill. Now I'll say this. I mean, Tyreek Hill's a much more proven commodity, and I think even a bigger weapon than Deebo Samuel was, although the second half of the year last year, Deebo Samuel was every bit a weapon as Cooper Kupp was. I mean, they found a little something there in the last half of the season. But remember, when you trade for Deebo Samuel, you then are going to have to commit 4 years and $90+ million to him. And 70 of it's going to have to be guaranteed. So you do have to factor that into your equation with cap and what have you. You'll get him this year on his final year of his rookie deal. You will. So for this year, cap-wise, you'll be fine.
The next teams, in case we were wondering, the teams he lists after Baltimore and Indy, he had 6 teams listed. He has the Jags. We've already talked about the Jags and what they could do and how they could pull it off. Houston, and then Chicago. Now, if I'm San Francisco, I'm interested in trading Samuel to the Jets, to the Jags, to Houston, and to Chicago. I'm not as interested in the Baltimore and Indy because I don't think my next year's picks that I'm going to get are going to be nearly as good as what I'm going to get out of these other 4 teams. Not to mention that I think they got more to offer me this year in the draft.
If you're the Jets, do you have the guts to trade your first round pick next year for Deebo Samuel? Now, you're going to have to give away some of your 2s and your 3s. I mean, they have a lot of picks in this year's draft. My understanding is they pretty much have a standard draft next year, except for a couple of extra late round picks, 6th and 7th round. So if you're if you're not going to give up, I don't believe. And here's why I say this. Remember, and it was pointed out to us in our Twitch chat room, when the Jets aggressively went after Tyreek Hill, their offer did not include a first-round pick. I think it included like 3 seconds and 2/3, but they were this year and next year's draft. But it did not include either one of their first-round picks this year and did not include a first-round pick in 2023.
And just quick check, and I could have missed it, but from the looks of it, you're right. The Jets just have standard picks next year.
Now, that's another thing. Let's just say the Jets turn around and give the Niners a very similar offer that they were offering the Chiefs, who, remember, accepted the trade. There were a bunch of teams that wanted Tyreek Hill, and the Chiefs said, you make us trade proposals, and we will let you know if we accept it. And then if so, then you got to negotiate with Hill and see if he'll come play for you. And the only two teams whose deals they accepted on paper were the Jets and Dolphins. And then Tyreek chose the Dolphins.
And if you're right about Joe Douglas, then I'm the Jets. I'm making whatever trade. I don't care about 23 and 24 picks because I've got to save my own hide right now.
So let's just say, for you know what and giggles, it's a really similar offer that the Niners call up and say, we want the offer that you made for Tyreek Hill. And the Jets may think to themselves, well, man, Tyreek's a better player than Debo, but, beggars can't be choosers here. And let's just say the Niners are asking for 35, 38, that really high third-round pick this year, and they're asking for a second and or a third next year. I believe the Jets offered 5 draft picks. So let's just say you're the Niners, you can get them to offer up 4. 2 2s and a 3 this year and a second rounder next year. You do the deal? If you're the Niners?
No. I don't. Because I think he's that much of a difference maker that can get you to a Super Bowl. You're close. I want a first-round pick this year. If I'm doing a deal with the Jets, I want 10.
If you're Joe Douglas, you give up 10?
Yes.
I wouldn't.
Well, and I know your reasons why. I would.
Now, I think Joe Douglas at the end of the day would. Because I think Joe Douglas at some point has to start worrying about his job. And I think it'll make his GM happy. I think it'll help sell some tickets, which is a problem for the Jets year in, year out. That is something that they take into consideration. And makes his boss happy, would make life better for his head coach and quarterback. And I think would be, for the most part, Mark, would be universally patted on the back by the New York media if he made that kind of a deal. That's a sexy deal. The reason why I wouldn't make it is that I'm not so sure a wide receiver's coming off the board before 10. And if I'm Joe Douglas, it's like, well, I can get Jameson Williams for 10 and save all these draft picks and $18 million a year for the next 4 years.
And you and I both think that the Jets aren't going to be much better with him or without him. It doesn't make that much of a difference at the end of the day for the Jets.
Now, teams don't think that way, though.
I know they don't.
They always think best case scenario. You and I are both thinking the Jets aren't going to be relevant till 2024. So why am I doing this?
And using 2 years of a guy that is going to get beat up. And by the time you're ready for him,
he'll be turning 29. So why am I doing this again? And which is funny because you and I are almost always arguing to make the deal.
Well, and that's why if I'm Baltimore, if I'm Indianapolis, I want to make this deal. Because their window's now. And the other teams that we talked about in this, well, with the exception of the Jags, because of the quarterback, David, and I don't, this whole bingo thing, this whole Joe Burrow thing rings in my head and say, could the Jags, if Lawrence starts to play, could they become a team more quickly?
I think the Niners do not trade Debo, and the stare down begins in earnest. Miller and Moulton, thanks so much for listening. Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf,
where golfers go to get better.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Clarko, I agree with you about Mejia. I don't know. It's going to be hard, though. Some of the guys that they want to get in as DH, but I agree with you. I think Ovi's breaking Gretzky's record. I listened to a conversation on NHL radio the other day, and most of the people didn't think he was going to get there. And I'm like, goal scoring's way up this year. Way up.
Play, just the way the special teams are now in the game.
And also physically, he looks great. I mean, it's a lot less pounding to play the game now, and he doesn't play the game as physically as he used to.
And he's so big. It's not like, Wayne's little. Ovi can sit on the half wall for 4 more years.
Well, and that'll do it. I mean, how many goals is he?
We should be marveling at him even more than we are.
He just scored 50 goals.
Right.
By the way, he's
How
what,
old was he?
36?
And if Chelly could play to his mid-40s, Ovi can play for 5 more years. I'm telling you. And he wants it too.
Oh, of course.
He sees it. He
totally
wants it.
By the way, oldest player to ever score 50.
He just tied Bossy and Gretzky's record for 50-goal seasons.
Right. His 9th, by the way.
Which, by the way, Mike Bossy had 9 50-goal seasons.
Well, in a row to start his career. His last year, the 10th year, bad back, I think he scored like 37 and retired.
Right.
How's that for a career?
I'm with you, Sean. And the thing, Yager was huge too. Yager's a big man.
I mean, he's got 780. He's 112 behind Gretzky.
And he's good.
I'm telling you, this thing's over.
First off, I know they don't count postseason, but he's got what, 3? He's got 4 more games?
Yeah, 4 or 5.
Right.
Yeah.
So, there's a chance he gets, let's just say he gets 3 more.
Yeah, or 2 more. And he's $110 behind Gretzky to tie entering next year.
That's 30 a year. That's 20, 80 a year for 4 years.
Well, first off, if he does 37 a year for 3 years, he'll break it at the end of the 3rd season, which isn't out of the question.
No, but
and if you do 30 or so, he's within 15 to 20 goals of Gretzky, of course he's coming back. Caps will base their whole season ticket plan around it.
And who wouldn't?
And the league would beg him to come back.
Mark, I have to thank you because you are the reason why I watched Ovechkin. You told me to go to that game, and I went, and it was awesome.
He's
He's
great.
amazing.
He's
Just
great.
saw him last night.
He's amazing.
He was awesome last night. 2 goals and an assist.
And when he enters the game, you feel that he's in the game. It's like, oh, there he is.
Because he's a big bastard.
Because he's a bear.
He's a big man.
He's a
If
big
you watch
bear.
him in the playoffs too, watch when
in
2 weeks when he starts hitting people.
I remember.
I want the Caps in Florida first round.
God, it would be just
because they will give Florida every single thing they want.
I will say though, Florida's much faster than them. But yes, I agree with you.
Yeah, but the game's not always 5-on-5.
I know.
The year that they won the Stanley Cup, I was in Chicago with my dad, and we watched like 3 of those games at different bars, and that was amazing. That was a really good series, even though it was kind of lopsided.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
The bonus hour, Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us. The Florida Sports Network. It's a week from tonight, the NFL Draft. Obviously, talking a lot of football this time of year. Kicking around a few other things. I still believe it's outrageous what Wimbledon did around this time yesterday, banning the Russian and Belarus players. They did do this after World War II. They banned German and Japanese players for a year or two from Wimbledon after World War II, because, of course, they didn't have the tournament during the war. And then they resumed it in 46 and 47. And I know in 46, and I believe also in 47, that they banned all German and Japanese players. Now, I will say, I don't know how many there were. 75 years ago. I mean, the game was not as international as it is now. But, we barely scratched the surface. And I know there are 19 of you that care about Wimbledon and tennis. But just imagine if going forward, pick the sport. Imagine if Major League Baseball one day, something happens with the Dominican Republic. Something happens.
Well, I think just NHL. If the NHL tried to do, I think we don't have to, not to interrupt, but I don't think we have to imagine. I think we could just look at if the NHL did what Wimbledon's doing. We just spent that last break talking about Alex Ovechkin and whether or not he's going to get to Wayne Gretzky's goal record.
And he is.
I believe he is as well.
Alex Ovechkin scored his 50th goal last night. He's 36 years old. That's the oldest player to ever do that. He has 9 50-goal seasons. No one's ever had more in the history of the sport. He's tied with Mike Bossy and Wayne Gretzky.
But could you imagine if the NHL decided to put this ban in?
Now, also
right now,
on the eve of the playoffs. But yes, it would affect a lot more than a handful of tennis players, which is what it's seemingly doing in Wimbledon. I mean, this would gut some rosters. Absolutely gut. I mean, like the top line for St. Louis, I believe, is 3 Russians. And the Blues are they're a solid team. Yeah, they really are.
Now, we think Colorado's the class of the West, but the Blues are a solid team.
Yeah.
If they win a playoff series, that's not going to surprise anybody.
No.
I mean, they did win this thing the last time before Tampa did.
Right. Before a pandemic, they did hoist the cup. So never mind. I mean, how it would affect the Lightning. I mean, don't they lose their goalie?
Yeah.
Rangers lose their goalie.
So, we don't have to come up with some weird scenario. All you have to look at is if the NHL did what Wimbledon just did. Holy cow.
And so maybe think about this in that light for those of you that are hockey fans, and we know in this market that many are. By the way, Ovechkin at 780. Gretzky's record, I guess, is 894. So he's 114 shy of Gretzky. Let's say he gets a couple more this year. He'll be about 112 behind Gretzky. That would be 37 a year would get for 3 years would get him 111. So let's just play the percentages and say he's probably going to need a fourth year.
I think he'll need a fourth year. I know it's been, this consecutive run of 50 is absolutely amazing. I just have trouble seeing him in his late 30s still pumping 50 home, pumping 40 home. But even at 30 a year for 4 years, he does it. And I think he can play on the half wall for 4 more years, David. I really do. He's big enough. The game is not as physical as it was even 5 years ago.
My goodness. Ovechkin and Phil Esposito, the most 50-goal seasons in their 30s. They each have 3.
Similar builds. I mean, Espo was a monster of a man in his day.
Yes. Peter DeBoer, they played in Vegas last night, which also happened to be where Washington won their only cup. They beat the Golden Knights, and they beat them in Vegas to hoist the cup. So Ovechkin's got fond memories of the place, and Caps fans showed up. But the Vegas coach last night asked rhetorically, how good is Ovechkin? He's unbelievable. He had 2 tonight, could have had another 2. He looks 25 years old out there. He's so dangerous. And as soon as they got behind by 1, he just started looking for those openings. They're tough to defend because of him. Player on a team at 36. Also, here's how dominant he's been, and then we'll get off the subject. All right. Since he came into the league, and his first year was the year after the lockout. Like, he was drafted in that draft and didn't play. That's another thing. I mean, how many closer to Gretzky would he be?
You got to figure 25 minimum.
Minimum,
David.
And the pandemic, and right. So, but since he's come into the league, he's got 9, obviously 50-goal seasons. No one else has more than 2 since he's come into the league.
And we're going crazy about Austin Matthews. Hockey people are, of setting the Leafs all-time record and the American all-time record for most goals in a season. And it doesn't happen every year. I mean, Toronto fans are marveling at what Austin Matthews is doing. Ovechkin just seems to do it every year.
And has been, and it was brought up yesterday, and we talked about it yesterday, but what could be interesting if the NHL does not, and we do not think, especially at this late date in the season, that the NHL would jump in like Wimbledon did. It wasn't the ATP Tour that has decided they're banning Russian and Belarus men and women from playing at Wimbledon. It was Wimbledon. So the equivalent is the NHL. We don't think the NHL is going to do it. They've had plenty of opportunity to, and they haven't. But what would be interesting is the U.S. government is obviously figuring out more and more ways to try to squeeze Putin in Russia, and hockey is very important to Putin and Russia. Does the Biden administration start playing around with visas?
Right. The H-2B1, I think it's called, visa, whatever. I used to know this when I worked for hockey organizations. They could very easily do that. I mean, if the government just put a crackdown on not issuing those visas to Russian citizens,
it would create chaos for the National Hockey League. It would gut a half a dozen teams because they wouldn't just lose players. They'd lose key players that are irreplaceable, particularly in a salary cap sport. Because that's the other thing. You think the NHL is going to allow those players to suddenly not be a part of the cap? I don't think so. I mean, think about it. The owners would then have to go, oh, yeah, okay, so now we'll have to pay for more players? And besides, what happened if all of a sudden the visas, they're allowed to come back? What do we do with these extra guys? And the extra money? Yeah, I don't think so. So next year's season could be
it's
fascinating.
The only thing that could take Ovechkin away from the record right now is the U.S. government. And
Is
Putin.
Is
No,
Putin or Biden, however you want to phrase it.
However you want to do it.
Miller and Moulton on this Thursday. The one other thing, if I just jam it in there, and we mentioned this briefly much earlier in the show. What do you think about the USGA announcing they're going with what we've advocated Final Fours and Super Bowls do, which is find 3, 4, 5 cities and make this basically your go-to. And if you want to occasionally throw in, we'll throw a bone to Tampa. We'll throw a bone to,
somebody that built a new stadium.
So the USGA in the last year has decided we're going to have anchor courses. We're basically every 5-6 years, the U.S. Open's going to be here. And they're also now bringing the women with them, in which like Pebble Beach yesterday was announced as the third anchor site for the USGA for the next quarter century, to go with Pinehurst and Oakmont.
I'll just say quickly on this being done and the women's being done. For all the grief that Augusta Nationals received over the years, starting the women's amateur tournament at Augusta, to me, is the precursor for opening up Pebble for the U.S. Women's Open. I don't think the USGA jumps full into the women's side the way they did without Augusta making the first jump.
Well, and also I believe Pinehurst and Oakmont have made the same commitment. Here's my thing, though. And when I say we, I was part of Fox's golf coverage 3 years ago, and the last tournament that we did was the U.S. Open at Pebble. There was no wind, and they tore that place up. Gary Woodland, Brooks Koepka went low. I mean, I think they were double figures under par.
Right.
It's a short course.
It's really short. I was fortunate enough to play it. Right. All they can do is narrow the fairways and pray for wind.
I mean, listen, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And with the technology and the drones, I mean, it looks amazing. And it always will.
And it is amazing.
Right. But, I'm being brutally honest here. As a course to challenge these guys, St. Andrews is obviously the anchor course in the R&A rotation, but it's totally at the mercy of the elements. If it doesn't blow, 22 under wins that tournament. And if it blows, 7 under can win. And Mark, nowadays with how far they hit it, that's Pebble, man.
Well, and the other side of it, all you really do to defend the course then is you have rough that's going to be outrageously long. And as much as I like my carnage in the U.S. Open, I don't want a guy missing the fairway and have it be virtually impossible to get the ball forward. Right. And that's what they'll have to do in order to try to equalize it if there is no wind.
And fairways as wide as a driveway.
Right.
Also, I'll say this, Oakmont. Now, it's a bear. It really is. But don't get me wrong. It's traditional course, the whole deal. But, man, it's, like 18's not this awesome finishing hole. Oakmont just wears you out. To have that be an anchor course, where would you want it to be?
I'm going New York. I'm going
Shinnecock, Winged Foot.
Probably Shinnecock or Winged Foot, one of those two.
And there's talk that they're going to make one of those two their fourth anchor course.
They will. Just which one? They don't lose in that situation, though, David, with either one of those courses.
Miller and Moulton. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap today was the day when, coming up a little more than 20 minutes here on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
We had two pitchers take perfect games into the sixth yesterday. Otani and the Dodgers guy. Where are you going to go? If I'm Mo Egger. Jesus, this is the fucking gift right here.
I'd be calling him up by name every day. Where are you going to go, Phil?
Where are you going to go?
Where are you going to go, Phil?
2-11, baby.
Where are you going to go?
2-11. Oh. So I am quasi excited. I think I'm going to get a few baseball games in the ASUN tournament.
Is it here?
Yeah, but it's been here before, and the ASUN hasn't allowed me to do games before.
Oh,
Still pissed about that column.
which was right.
9 years ago.
Which was right.
Well, didn't say it was wrong. We'll say it was it is one of my better leads.
What was the open?
The ASUN's dead. They just don't know it yet. I mean, come on. That's pretty effing good. That's pretty good. FGCU's in so much trouble.
Why?
Because they don't have any money.
Yeah, they're hiring a advertising sponsor person. I saw it on LinkedIn.
All right. Never asked me.
Asked me, but never really offered me. I had to interview.
I will say this, though. You know, the difference between then and now, like, you have to work at that job now. A lot harder than I think both of us would want to work. Like,
I'd take that job now if it was for a different guy. I couldn't work for him.
No, neither one of us could.
because he doesn't know anything about sponsorship. And he'd be telling,
Yeah.
Well,
Well, also,
he doesn't know a thing about business. I'm sorry. If he did, they would not be in the shape that they're in right now. Okay.
He's and Ken knows this, and I've told it to his face. He's an unbelievable micromanager. I can't work for a micromanager. I can't. I can't live with one. I can't work for one.
You can't really fault Bradshaw, though, because Bradshaw didn't have sports before. Everything in the sports world's working great. He's looking at grade point average. He's looking at success on the field, of which they had. They just never sold. They never had people there. Butch could sell a little.
I'll do it. I'll save FGCU.
Well, if you knew how to market, you could.
Debo. Is he the first Debo that you've covered in the NFL?
Do we know if it?
Is there another Debo?
Can you name another Debo?
I don't know.
I can name a Dabo and a Devo, but I can't name another Debo.
And a diva.
A lot of divas. All right, here we go.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. When Jay Wright retired last night, it means that there are only 7 active men's college basketball coaches who have won a national championship. And with the interesting dynamic that has taken place here in the last 24 months in college football, Urban's not coaching. Orgeron, 2 years removed from winning a national title, is out. Les got bounced at Kansas. And so Gene Chizik is not back as a head coach. There are only 5 current football coaches at the high Division I level who have won national championships. And the 5th is Kirby. And that only happened 100 days ago. So between the two, there's just 12 men coaching big-time college football and basketball active who have won national championships. It's a really small number. We asked the question, are $20, who will become the 6th in college football? And you said you'd put your money on Ryan Day.
That's where I would go.
I'll give you the same $20. Who are you going to put your money on in college basketball? Who will become the 8th?
Boy.
I mean, is, Mark Few ever going to cut down the nets? We trust in Chris Beard at Texas. He nearly cut him down at Texas Tech. Jawan at Michigan?
I think, first off, we'll get it in college basketball before we'll get it in college football.
I like that. Because also you got a second-year head coach next year at North Carolina and a first-year head coach at Duke.
Right.
So,
and a first-year coach at Nova. It's not like they're going to lack talent next year.
That's true. I mean, heck, Kyle Neptune could be the 8th.
Right.
The new coach at Nova.
I think you're more likely not being able to pick who the 8th is on the college basketball side than to be able to pick who it is.
Could also be Mr. Cronin there at UCLA. I'd love for it to be my guy at USC, but I'd put my $20 on UCLA to cut down the nets
wouldn't
first.
That be something? USC wins a basketball title before they win their next football title. Now that would be something.
Now that gets you paid, man. That gets you paid. But I mentioned the few who have accomplished this because there's a chance, Mark, that today, and literally today, 4 hours from now today, that Miguel Cabrera gets hit number 3,000. 32 players have reached 3,000 hits. 32. And 28 have hit 500 home runs. He's at 502 in home runs. He's at 29.99 in hits. He would become just the 7th player, the 7th in the history of the sport to be 500 homers, 3,000 hits.
Crazy is is he going to be the 3rd or 4th Tiger? And I know he played with the Marlins as well, but is he Kaline, Cobb? Did Greenberg get to 3,000?
I don't believe so. So it'll be at least the 3rd. That's okay. Sheffield, I know Sheffield's at 500 homers. I don't know if he got to 3,000 hits, but in terms of Marlins that are now making the list as well. But Cabrera sits at 29.99. He got 3 hits last night. Now do you have the active hits list in front of you?
I do. Well, I have the 3,000 hit club. I do not have the active hit list. You want the active hit list?
Because like we asked the question, when will we see a 300 game winner again in baseball? And then the answer we think is never. But I'm curious, who's next after Cabrera to get to 3,000?
Cano's at 26.29.
He's got 2 years left on his deal. He's a part-time player now. So, Mark, let's just say he doesn't get suspended again and he plays 2 more years and he plays 100 or so games. I think he's still going to be at least 150 hits shy, and he'll be in his early 40s.
And Molina's next at 21.15.
And this is probably his last year.
Right. Joey Votto's 38. He's at just over 2,000 hits. There's no one else that has more than 2,000 hits that's actively playing.
So if it's not Cano, and the likelihood is it won't be, that he could get close, though. He'd get in the 2,800 range. But it's going to be a little while.
Mike Trout's 30 years old. He has 1,427 hits.
So he's not even halfway there.
Nope. But I'm trying to look at the ages of players. You've got a bunch of guys. You've got Elvis Andrus, who 33 years old. He's got 1,874 hits.
Probably not going to happen.
Right. Altuve's got 1,783. He's 32 years old. Freddie Freeman's got 1,720, 32 years old. Eric Hosmer, 1,646, 32 years old. I mean, they're just barely past halfway.
Mike Trout's
now Cabrera's how old? 40?
Cabrera's 39.
Okay, so I mean, think about it. Even if you're an all-time great, which obviously Cabrera is, it takes you damn near 40,
right,
to get here.
This is his 20th year in the league.
Mike Trout will be more than halfway through, though, by the end of the season.
Okay, but he's played 12 years. This is his 12th season in the league. Just put that in perspective. He's got a double.
12?
Yeah.
So he started when he was 18?
Yeah.
19 or 20. But what? So this is his 12th year?
12th year in the league.
And that could be if he starts at 20, he plays 10 years in his 20s, and then 30, and I'm guessing he'll turn 31 this year.
Right.
He's 30 now, but I'm guessing then he turns 31. So, yeah, that would be 12.
Yeah, he turns 31 in August, for the record.
So he'll finish this year, and let's just throw 150 hits, although he'll probably get more. So where would that take him to? About 1,640? Something like that for Trout? So he'll be at 1,640, and he'll be 31 years old.
The injuries in the COVID season certainly didn't help.
If he averages 150 hits for 8 years, it's 1,200 hits. He'd be at about 28 and change, and he'd be 39 turning 40. He'd be at 28 and change. I mean, I got to admit, Felipe, I think you hit on the guy that if I had to throw $20 on, it would be him. But I think we're just trying to point out how remarkable this achievement is.
Yes.
I mean, the guys you're mentioning, Trout, Altuve, I mean, these perennial all-stars.
Right. I mean, I'm trying to look at guys that haven't played a lot. Christian Yelich has 1,200 hits. This is a great player. He's 1,200 hits in 10 years. That's really good.
Yeah. And I'd say now, he had the 2 great years.
I know.
But yeah, he's been a good to really good player. Right.
Mookie Betts is the youngest guy in the top 50. He's 29 years old. He's played 9 seasons in the league. He has 1,160 hits.
I mean, Mookie Betts is going to have a borderline Hall of Fame career. He's going to retire with 2,200 hits, something like that.
Career average of 295
For Betts.
Yes.
Right. Cabrera, by the way, I think's over 300.
I know Pujols is right under because of his Angels years.
His career batting average is 310.
Cabrera. So
Yeah.
he's going to finish as a 300 hitter.
500, 3,000,
300.
and a 300 hitter.
Right.
Who's the better hitter, Pujols or Cabrera?
Pujols. Close.
So close.
And power.
Power or contact, though?
Well, I mean,
They have both. I mean, Pujols has
true,
3,300 hits.
It's true.
he's got him by 150. Well, actually, he's got him by 180 home runs and 300 hits.
115 they play today.
Yankees, Tigers in Detroit. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network. David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. And use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
That's going to be hard for him to get 112 hits because he's not an everyday player. So, he'd probably have to hit over 300. So I got him at 33.08. He needs 12 hits to pass both Eddie Collins and Paul Molitor.
Right. He won't catch Yaz.
But he won't catch Yaz, but he will finish if he does that. 10th all-time in hits. 10th.
Who, Miggy?
Pujols. Here's the thing for Miggy.
Miggy will end up, I bet you he gets right around where I see where Winfield's at 31-10.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Miggy will become the 33rd player. Okay. But he'll tie Clemente. And then he'll need 8 hits to pass K-Line, 11 to pass Boggs, 21 to pass Palmeiro, 24 to pass Brock, 54 to pass Carew, 56 to pass Henderson, 61 to pass Biggio. He'll need 90 hits to pass Ichiro.
Like, I think he gets to right around where Winfield is.
And then Winfield's 20 hits above that. 31-10.
How old is Miguel Cabrera?
39. He'll be 40.
I think he's got one couple more years, maybe one more year after this year.
It's off to a good start.
Yeah. One of the best fantasy baseball players of all time. And one of my favorite players of all time. I mean, he won a ring with us at 20.
God, and I wish he would have got one with Detroit.
Man, were they close.
Yes, they were. Notice how I went they in Detroit, and you went we.
Oh, yeah.
Been rooting for the Tigers longer than you've been alive. By 50 years.
I'd love to go to Comerica.
Sucks.
Who was the
I hate Comerica.
legendary Tiger that you mentioned? Not Cobb. Greenberg?
K-line. Oh, Greenberg never got to it. Yeah, never got to 3,000. I like baseballreference.com so much better than baseball itself.
Sportsreference.com, because you know how there's obviously a basketball, football reference. There's a college football, college basketball. It's the greatest thing ever. It's just an almanac.
Oh, Greenberg only had 1,600 hits.
I know. I'm going down the list
cow.
here.
He only had 1,600 hits. He had 330 home runs. I didn't realize it was that little. But he only played 13 years. I mean, he averaged 189 hits a year. Also missed 3 years because he was in the Air Force.
Right.
And
prime years.
And most of 41 from the looks of it, because he played 19 games in 41.
Well, that must have been injury.
It must have been injury, yeah, because we weren't in the war. So then he's back by 45, which he didn't play a full season, had 84 hits.
Mark, if I told college Mark Miller that there was going to be a website with the game log of every single Major League Baseball player ever.
Well, no, because college Mark Miller, there wasn't an internet.
You'd probably have your mind blown, though. If I told you there was like a database with that. The game log of every single game that every single MLB player has ever
Now,
played.
if you'd have told 24-year-old Mark Miller, I'd have said, of course there is, because this is what I do for I mean, you know, I'm doing PR for hockey. I'm doing
right.
game notes. I lived for this crap.
Yeah. That's awesome. Throughout my college career, whenever I was bored in class, I would look up specific players' game logs from like some of their best seasons, and I just scroll.
Yeah, rooting for Cecil, Canada, and then running across the border after the game to pick up a 2-4 from the package store. And sneaking it back in the country. And seeing how many we drank on the way home, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't know if I'd call Windsor nice.
We're coming back.
Ted Williams at 2,654 hits.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
That was a very dangerous conversation we just had midway through last segment, and it carried on into the break because it led us to go to Baseball Almanac and Baseball Reference and start going through these hit lists and home run lists.
Go through a rabbit hole of history.
Well, you know, we've had this discussion before. I will make the case Ted Williams is the second greatest player of all time, behind Ruth. Even over Henry Aaron, which is really difficult to do. You know what? I might go Henry Aaron second and Ted Williams third.
Thank you.
But Ted Williams had 2,654 hits and basically missed 5 full years because of service in 2 wars. 2,654. Lifetime 340 hitter. So, you know, conservatively, we give him 150 hits in those 5 seasons. That's 750 hits. That gets him to 3,400 hits. That would be certainly be top 10 all time in hits. You go 30 or so home runs a year in those 5 years. That gets him close to 700 homers.
Babe Ruth has 3,000 hits, right?
No.
Wow.
No. Just for the record, Hank Aaron had 3,771 hits.
Right.
He had 624 doubles, for the love of everything holy.
Well,
2,297 RBI.
Right. Now, Ruth, by the way, because he walked so much, 2,873 hits. So he came close. A lot of legendary players in around 2,750 to 2,900. Coming up that one season short of getting there.
But I'm interested because you didn't hesitate. Ruth is your solidified number one?
Yeah. Also for his historical impact on the game.
Yeah.
Babe Ruth made baseball the number one sport in this country, and it remained the number one sport in this country for over 50 years. And it was because of Babe Ruth. And I don't know how that's arguable.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
It's not arguable. That's why I just kind of let that comment sit there and lie for a bit.
What was like the single season home run record before Ruth? Wasn't it in the low 20s?
It was either in the 20s or the high teens.
Right. And he then puts a 59 and a 60 up on the board. People were like, what the hell is this? But all right, we digress.
Time now for
Leave it to the oldest guy in the show, and definitely the oldest soul, to live in the past. Here's David Moulton with Today Was the Day When...
Got a lot going on. Don't know how much further back we've ever gone than this. 753 BC.
Ooh.
Rome was founded today.
Oh,
Historically, it's an important city. That's all I'm going to say. You can debate just how important. Then we're going to move it up a few years to 1789. I think you'll find this interesting. So John Adams is sworn in today as our nation's first ever vice president.
All right.
But the funny thing, or ironic thing, is that he's sworn in as vice president 9 days before GW was sworn in as president. What the hell was that all about?
Maybe he had a vacation plan.
Him and Martha?
Yeah. Maybe they were binge watching Ozark. I have no idea, David. Problem is they were doing it on Adams' account, and that had everything up into upheaval there.
Right. By the way, we want to blame First Lady Ivy Hayes in 1878. She was the first lady to begin the egg rolling contest on the White House lawn for Easter.
Why are we blaming her? What's wrong with the egg roll? Who doesn't want to roll an egg?
So that's Rutherford B. Hayes' wife. That's who we're blaming. In 1898, Spain declared war against the United States. Hence, the Spanish-American War. 1944, the Chicago Cardinals and Pittsburgh Steelers merge. That's right. They played the 1944 season, merged. Now, the merger dissolved in December. Here's the funny thing, or ironic thing, or noteworthy thing. The year before, the Steelers are in such trouble, they merge with
the Eagles.
And they're known as the Steagles for the 43 season. Then they merge with the Cardinals. Then by 45, they go, okay, we're going to do this on our own. Mark 1956, Elvis' first hit, Heartbreak Hotel, becomes number one. 1959, using a rod and reel, a gentleman by the name of Alf Dean hooked a 2,664-pound, 16-foot, 10-inch great white shark off the Australia coast.
That's a big fish.
With a rod and reel in 59. The Beatles and Rolling Stones met today for the first time in 63. I'm Paul. I'm Mick.
I'm Keith. I'm George. Let's go out back.
Remember, the Dodgers and Giants moved west in time for the 58 season. So it was today in 1967 that the Dodgers had their first rainout. 737 consecutive games over 9+ seasons. before they finally had a rain out in LA. The Yankees were struggling to begin the 77 season offensively, kind of like the D-backs were heading into last night's game. The D-backs were hitting a $156 mark on the season. Arizona did not resort to what Billy Martin did in 77. He literally pulled the lineup card out of a hat. Remember, the Yankees had gone to the World Series the year before. They got a few good players. They added Reggie to the team. The lineup pulled out of a hat beat Toronto 8-6. Nightline was reduced to 30 minutes today in 84. The same day, Thriller, after 37 weeks at number 1, was knocked off the top spot by the soundtrack to Footloose.
Blame that one on your wife.
No doubt about it. No doubt.
You weren't stealing any Footloose cassettes. I know that for certain.
By the way, I skipped over one. On this day in 73, tie a yellow ribbon around the old oak tree.
Horny Orlando and Dawn?
Number 1 in the country.
That was an AM radio staple right there, David.
Was it ever. People will be humming it today. 86, Geraldo opens Al Capone's vault. Finds virtually nothing except great ratings.
God, it was pathetic. Did you watch?
Yeah,
I did.
The end. Sure. Absolutely. I kept checking in to see, has he opened this sucker yet? No. Then I realized, well, it's a 2-hour show. He can't open it till at least quarter of. 1989, Tiananmen Square began. Also, a couple of guys were named joint CEOs of the Texas Rangers. Ed Rose and this guy named George Walker Bush. May have heard of him. 91, Russell Maryland, number 1 overall pick of the draft. Eddie Murray in 94, for the 11th time in his career, Mark, hit homers from both sides of the plate in a game, setting the all-time record.
We said it yesterday. He was a stud.
How can a guy who has 500 homers and 3,000 hits be underrated? Eddie Murray. Look it up. We were talking about the old Boston Garden, Felipe, earlier this week. It was today in 95. The Celtics lose their final regular season game at the Garden. The Knicks beat them by 6. I believe Orlando takes them out in the first round of the playoffs. Shaq and Penny, I believe, close the Garden for the Celtics a week or so later. 2001, Michael Vick, drafted number 1 overall by Atlanta. You could argue it's the greatest draft day trade in the history of the league, though. The Chargers moved down from 1 to 5, take LaDainian Tomlinson. All right, and then with the first pick of the second round, draft Drew Brees. On this day in 2012, Philip Humber of the White Sox throws the 21st perfect game in Major League Baseball history against the Mariners. He was out of baseball by the end of the year. Prince died 6 years ago today. And 3 years ago today, a Ukrainian comedian won the presidential election of Ukraine in a landslide. Who the hell is this Volodymyr Zelensky guy? I think he'll be remembered historically. Joe McCarthy, Steve Owen, legendary high school basketball coach at DeMatha, Morgan Wooten, Ken Caminiti, and Anthony Quinn all had birthdays of April 21st and are no longer with us. Mark, Queen Elizabeth II is 96 today. Charles,
big for you.
It is big for me. I'm curious if Harry and Meghan will stop by on the way back. They stopped by on the way over. Will they stop by on the way back? Charles Grodin's 87 today.
Underrated.
Oh, amazingly so. How old do you think Tony Danza is?
70.
71. Great guess. Andy McDowell, 64. Rob Riggles, 52. Robin Meade of Headline News is 53. I'm just saying. Jesse Orozco's 65. Eddie Belfour's 57. Vincent Lecavalier and Tony Romo are both 42. Marshawn Beast is 36. And Jock Peterson's 30, and that's today was the day.
No errors or omissions today. Which leads us straight to
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
we go to England for a dog, where 46-year-old Victoria Hogan was left devastated when her border terrier, Frida, became trapped underground. It darted into a hole during a walk. It was actually a badger hole. She tried to coax it out. She cooked bacon. She blew the aroma down the hole with a leaf blower. Nothing. Dog doesn't come out. She's devastated. Thinks the dog's dead. 12 days later, the 6-year-old dog reemerged, was found by 3 students on the roadside. So Frida survives 12 days in a hole. It's not 30 days in the hole. It's 12 days in the hole, David. For the bad, we go to Naples and Angela Sue Berry, who is a rotten human being. She ripped off a business years ago, but now has done it to the sauce lady in Naples, who's a very nice lady, had a nice little business. I've met her. Wonderful woman. This lady worked for her as a bookkeeper and forged more than $72,000 worth of checks out of the sauce lady's account. She was arrested in South Carolina and will face charges for that. Finally, the ugly. Imagine hanging around the Bloomington, Indiana Walmart, just doing a little shopping, shelf to shelf, and all of a sudden coming upon a young bull python that was sleeping on one of the shelves inside the Indiana Walmart store. How would you do with that?
Not well.
A balled up python.
Not well.
Wasn't in the animal section either.
Would lose my mind. Mark Mangino sent a picture this morning on his morning walk in Naples and it was not a black racer.
No, it looked like a rattler.
Right. And he was just like, this little guy's out for his morning walk. I was freaked out looking at his tweet.
And that is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, April the 21st, 2022.
By the way, I did have a really big screw up. Charles Grodin died last year. I missed it, obviously. So he died in May of last year at 86. Damn. It's only the second one I've gotten wrong.
It happens.
In the deader Canadian game.
Was a good game then. It's a good game now.
Yeah. Got a little bit of day baseball like we told you. Tigers and Yankees in 3 hours. Cabrera needs 1 hit for 3,000.
Hockey tonight. Leafs and Lightning. I believe that's the ESPN game as well. Panthers home for the Red Wings. Big one for the Panthers if they're trying to get first overall. These are games that you just have to win.
Well, and by the Avs losing last night,
Right.
Florida now controls being the number 1 overall seed. 3 games in the NBA. Memphis and Minnesota, the early TNT game. Golden State, Denver, the late TNT game. Dallas and Utah on NBA TV in the middle. They think Luka's going to try to play for the Mavs. That series tied at 1.
After yesterday, I don't know if I want to give any picks out. That was not a solid day. I need to get back on the horse here.
Tell you what, the T-Wolves are feeling it. They are talking. They are talking. Memphis, a 1.5-point favorite on the road.
Right. And Golden State, a 2-point favorite on the road tonight at Denver.
I'll take the T-Wolves at
There
home.
you go. Take the T-Wolves.
By the way, the Jazz are laying 6.5 at home against the Mavs.
Well, Luka's status up in the air. Listen, Utah better win this series because if they don't, Donovan Mitchell wants out.
Oh, he's gone.
No. If they win, he may stay. But
No,
if
but
they lose,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
especially
I
with-
agree.
Yeah, he'll be like, I'm out of here. This ain't working.
Not worth my time.
And I hate the second best player on the team anyway.
They don't have a relationship at all.
Right, Mitchell and Rudy Gobert.
Doesn't seem to bode well.
No.
I mean,
Right.
certain radio shows were able to get away with it for a long time. I don't know how they did it.
I have no idea. None. Miller and Moulton. Have a great rest of your day. Pat Kerwin will be amongst those on our show tomorrow here on the Florida Sports Network. David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters.